Chapter 1232. Bei Xiaoman's second victory was obviously Ning Fan's doing. Ordinary chess soldiers were limited by their cultivation base. They could not break free from the restriction of the four-sided chess world. However, to Ning Fan, this level of restriction was useless. He was not a chess piece that could be manipulated by others. He could ignore the rules of the game at any time and attack and move freely. His cultivation base was too high. This also led to a result. The battle between the chess soldiers of the four-sided chess world could not attract his attention. No matter how many enemies there were and how skillfully they used the chess world talismans, they still could not withstand his tribulation flash. In the beginning, Ning Fan could still sit on the spot and wait for the enemy's chess soldiers to attack him. Then he would kill them one by one. Later on, he completely lost interest in the game. He simply ignored the restrictions of the four-sided chess world and took the initiative to attack. He easily found all of the enemy's chess soldiers and destroyed them one by one with a flick of his finger. The only thing that I am concerned about in this world is that Wang Ji. Ning Fan's expression turned grim when he thought of the old woodcutter. It was not only because the old woodcutter was an ancient great cultivator. It was also because he had a metal elemental power that greatly restrained him. Among the 5 elements, metal restrained wood. Without a doubt, that old woodcutter was a metal elemental cultivator. Moreover, his metal elemental power was extremely powerful. It could actually suppress Ning Fan's wood elemental power. One should know that Ning Fan's wood elemental power was at the level of a divine lattice. Even if the old woodcutter was a master of the metal element and a title, he should not be able to threaten Ning Fan to such a degree. Then, there was only one explanation. The old woodcutter's metal elemental power was higher than that of a master of the metal element and a title. It might be the origin of the Tao or even higher. While Ning Fan was pondering, the voice of the Ant Lord suddenly resounded in his sea of consciousness. That Wang Ji has extremely deep karma. You better not provoke him. It was actually the Ant Lord's reminder. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with surprise. Are you warning me? This doesn't seem like something you would do. Humph. My life is connected to yours. That's why I'm reminding you. You can't afford to provoke that Wang Ji. The further you stay away from him, the better. When Wang Ji was mentioned, the Ant Lord, who was a dignified sage, actually shuddered. What he was afraid of was not Wang Ji but the karma. Ning Fan became even more puzzled. He withdrew his emotions and said with a solemn tone, "You are a saint. Why are you so afraid of a great cultivator from the ancient times?" The legend of Guanqi Lank is widely spread in the cultivation world. You must have heard of it, said the Ant Master. Ning Fan nodded. Of course, he had heard of the story of Guanqi and Lan Ku. It was said that in ancient times, near Shishir Mountain in Exenluan Prefecture, there was a woodcutter named Wang Ji. When he was chopping wood, he came to the mountain and saw a few immortals playing chess. Therefore, Wang Ji went forward to take a look. When he finished watching the match, he was surprised to find that the wooden handle of his axe had completely rotted. By the time he returned to the human world, 100 years had passed, and there were no more people from his generation. Legend had it that Wang Ji finally understood that he had met a celestial being. Overjoyed, he returned to Shishir Mountain and became a disciple of the primordial immortals. He abandoned the mortal world and devoted himself to cultivation. There was also a legend that Wang Ji was disheartened when he saw his loved ones passing away. That was why he entered the Tao sect. However, he did not cultivate in Shishir Mountain. Instead, he went somewhere else and became the disciple of someone else. There were usually hundreds and thousands of versions of such cultivation anecdotes. Naturally, they were not credible. There was even a later generation who wrote a poem based on Wang Ji's tone. Guanqi and Lan Ku, chopping wood, walking slowly at the entrance of the valley by the cloud. Selling firewood for wine, laughing wildly to cultivate one's love. Facing the moon, resting on a pine tree, sleeping until dawn. Recognizing the old forest, climbing the cliff and crossing the ridge, chopping the withered vines with the axe. Harvesting 1 load, selling 3 liters of rice in Shinga City. There was no competition for it, the current price was average. Not knowing how to scheme, no honor or disgrace, living a peaceful life. Wherever they met, they were either immortals or Taoists, sitting quietly and talking about the Golden Court. The artistic conception of this poem was extremely profound. It described the woodcutter as indifferent and carefree, as if he was an unworldly expert. In the eyes of the mortal world, fishermen and woodcutters were the most carefree people in the world. However, they did not know that there was no such thing as carefree in this world. This poem was better than the artistic conception, but it was far away from life. Fishermen fishing in the Han River were not to enjoy the snowy scenery. They just wanted to endure the pain of the bitter cold to make a living. Woodcutters cutting firewood and selling firewood were not to live in seclusion in the forest. If it wasn't for survival, who would be so free to cut down trees and destroy their vitality? White-haired fishermen and woodcutters meeting happily over a pot of turbid wine in the river. These were the imaginations of those who did not have to worry about food and clothing. Hee, the hand that picks up the pole hasn't stopped. The painter doesn't know the hardships of the fisherman. This is the true portrayal of the life of a poor fisherman and woodcutter. Ning Fan's thoughts gradually drifted away. However, he was called back by the Lord Ant's sneer. I'm reminding you out of goodwill. Is it really good for you to be so distracted? Let's talk about Wang Ji. My master had mentioned him before. He said that what Wang Ji saw in the Stone Room Mountain was not just a game of chess but the origin of the entire cultivation world. The identities of the few immortals who were playing chess in the mountain were even more terrifying. However, my master didn't say much about them. The master of the Lord Ant was old ancestor Hong Jun, who was at the fourth step of the immortal realm. Even old ancestor Hong Jun felt that Wang Ji's identity was terrifying. The origin of cultivation. In that case, those few immortals have a higher status than your master? Ning Fan asked casually. Actually, he was not interested in such secrets. Nonsense. My master, Hong Jun, is the strongest immortal in the profound gate. How can there be anyone who has a higher status than him? The Lord Ant retorted with displeasure. However, her tone was obviously not very confident. She only refuted because she was loyal. However, the Lord Ant clearly remembered how respectful her master's expression was when she mentioned those immortals in the past. All in all, just don't provoke that Wang Ji. The karma on him is too terrifying. Once you get tainted by his karma, it will only bring you more harm than good. Ordinary people don't know about this, but most of the fourth step immortal sovereigns in the true world know about it. Because of that, none of the immortal sovereigns have ever gone to find trouble with Wang Ji. Even the sages usually stay away from him. On the other hand, those juniors who don't know their place always want to gain some benefits from Wang Ji. They really don't know what's good for them. Oh! Ning Fan was no longer interested in Wang Ji. He was thinking about how to make good use of the time he had left. I've said so much. Are you even listening to me carefully? Ning Fan's indifferent tone really annoyed the Lord Ant. What a load of nonsense. You don't have any fear, worry, surprise, or concentration in your emotions at all. You're not listening to me at all. The conversation could no longer continue. The Lord Ant let out a cold harumph. She did not plan to continue reminding Ning Fan. She finally understood that Ning Fan did not take her warning seriously at all. She was just wasting her breath. Naturally, she felt a little frustrated. However, this time, she actually did not dare to flare up at Ning Fan. She could only swallow her anger and humphed. This was not like her at all. That's right. I don't dare to. She was a dignified sage realm expert. By right, it was impossible for her to be afraid of a second-step immortal sovereign. However, ever since Ning Fan cultivated a trace of the devil spirit bloodline, she actually could not muster up the confidence of a sage realm expert when facing him. Previously, Ning Fan only possessed the bloodline of a divine spirit. Therefore, she did not feel much pressure when facing him. After all, divine beings were defeated by the descendants of immortal spirits. No matter how noble a divine being was, it was not worth mentioning. However, Ning Fan cultivated a trace of the devil spirit bloodline. What was a devil spirit? The Lord Ant had never heard of it at all. Even many nirvana saints were not qualified to know such a great secret of heaven and earth, let alone her. She only knew one thing. When facing Ning Fan at this moment, she actually felt a sense of inferiority and fear that came from the depths of her soul. It was a kind of powerlessness that all living things in this world felt when facing their creator. It was like how mortals were afraid of flames, heavenly lightning, and the deep sea. It was a kind of terrifying aura that only cultivators at the third step and above could feel. As a result, after being ignored by Ning Fan, the dignified sage realm ant lord actually only dared to sulk alone instead of quarreling with Ning Fan like how she usually did. In Ning Fan's eyes, he naturally felt that it was extremely abnormal. However, he did not pay too much attention to it. He disliked the Lord Ant from the bottom of his heart. Even though she had kindly reminded him, he did not want to talk to her for too long. A breath of time in the outside world was equivalent to several hours in the four-sided chess world. Bei Xiaoman had just finished her second game. There was still some time before she would play the third game. Before the third round of chess begins, he would have at least a few hundred days to enter secluded cultivation. The mixed element body of 5 elements has already been cultivated. Since I have plenty of time, I might as well cultivate the yin and yang 4 divisions. After cultivating the 5 elements origin, one could cultivate the yin and yang 4 divisions. After cultivating the yin and yang 4 divisions, one could cultivate the Tai Chi life and death. The yin and yang 4 divisions was an extension of the 5 elements mixed essence body. It was a kind of profound divine power that required the cultivator to use himself as the foundation and cultivate the 4 directions guardian deities. The self is in the middle, and the 4 directions are guarding the north, south, east, west. In the cultivation world, there were many descriptions of the 4 symbols. Some people said that the 4 symbols represented spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Some people said that the 4 symbols were the 4 great mysterious divine beasts: azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. Some people said that the 4 symbols represented the old yang, little yin, old yin, and little yang. Some people said that the 4 symbols represented the stars in the 4 directions. Of course, when it came to academics, everyone could have their own opinions and opinions. This was understandable. Ning Fan took out the jade slip given to him by omniscient old man and carefully studied the part about yin-yang and 4 symbols. Suddenly, he saw a sentence between the lines. It was describing the yin-yang and 4 symbols that omniscient old man cultivated. Would Saint Mu Gui Jia of the east, Fire Saint Mu Gui of the south, Earth Nascent Demon Crane and Eye of the central, Gold Saint Mu Gui Bing of the west, and Water Saint Mu Gui Xian Ding of the north? He remembered that omniscient old man had summoned the 4 symbols twice in front of him. They were Fire Devil E and Water Saint Mu Gui Ding. In other words, other than Fire Devil E and Water Saint Mu Gui Ding, omniscient old man also cultivated 2 other 4 symbols, Wood Ghost Jia and Gold Divine Mu Gui. As for the Demon Crane and Eye, it was probably referring to omniscient old man himself. Gold Divine Mu Gui, Fire Devil E, Demon Crane and Eye, Water Saint Mu Gui Ding, Wood Ghost Jia. When the 5 of them are added together, they seem to correspond to the gods, devils, demons, immortals, and ghosts. Could it be that senior omniscient old man cultivated the yin-yang 4 symbols based on this? However, there's one thing that I don't quite understand. There's nothing wrong with it being yang wood. However, B is yin wood. Why does it correspond to fire? C is yang fire but it corresponds to metal. Whereas D is yin fire. Why does it correspond to water? Ning Fan muttered to himself. Could it be that omniscient old man's yin-yang and 4 symbols had already reached the level where he could reverse the 5 elements? Could it be that he could ignore the attributes of the 5 elements? On the other hand, reversing the 5 elements did not seem to be very difficult because the yin-yang transformation that he cultivated had a similar ability which allowed him to turn water into fire and lightning into ice. There's something you don't know. There's a reason why omniscient old man cultivated such a strange 4 symbols. That old man is actually an idiot at naming things. The Lord Ant suddenly let out a mocking laugh. She recalled some interesting legends that she had heard in the past. It was said that a long time ago, An idiot genius appeared in the branch sect of the Hongjun Holy Sect. That person was none other than Omniscient Old Man when he was young. He was said to be a genius because his innate talent was too heaven-defying. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was the #1 nascent soul realm cultivator since the beginning of time. It was said that he was an idiot because his ability to come up with names was just too trashy. On that day, Omniscient Old Man cultivated the yin-yang 4 symbols that even sages could cultivate with his mere nascent soul realm cultivation base. On that day, Omniscient Old Man summoned the 4 symbols and named them in front of them. The process of naming them had completely embarrassed the yin-yang sect. Omniscient Old Man said, "It's really troublesome to come up with names. The 4 of you can just arrange yourselves according to A, B, C, and D. Metal, wood, water, and fire 4 symbols said, "We are the 4 symbols. Don't you think the way you named them is a little too casual? It doesn't conform to the 5 elements, alright." Omniscient Old Man said, "Cut the crap. Are you guys the boss or am I the boss? The subordinates should listen to the boss. Alright, take off your pants now. I want to see your dick." Metal, wood, water, and fire 4 symbols. Omniscient Old Man said, "Your dick is the longest. You are the wood ghost armor. You are the 2nd fire devil bee. You are the 3rd work harder. Gold divine 3rd, your dick is only half the length of the wood ghost armor. What's the point of living like this? You are the 4th water immortal 4th. Why are you crying, water immortal 4th? Summon up your courage to face life, water immortal 4th. Pooh, gold divine 3rd is actually twice as long as you. Pooh, this is actually your hardened length. Pooh, I can't take it anymore. Let me laugh for a while more. How dare you, water immortal 4th, you dare to take off boss pants. You are not allowed to look, no one is allowed to look." Water immortal 4th's tears turned into laughter and he rolled on the ground, laughing, "Ha! Boss, you are actually shorter than me. Do you really not feel inferior like this?" Omniscient Old Man said, "What do you guys know? This is called hidden elephant horse. Hidden elephant horse, okay. The shorter the dick, the deeper the profound nature, the deeper the profound nature, the higher the cultivation. You are not allowed to laugh, no one is allowed to laugh." That day, Omniscient Old Man became the laughingstock of the real world. It was not that his dick was ridiculed. In fact, the more profound a cultivator was, the shorter dick was. Omniscient Old Man did not lie about this. The reason why the immortals were ridiculed was the way Omniscient Old Man named the 4 symbols. Naming them according to the length of dick was indeed a disgrace to the culture. I wonder how the 2 forms saint raised such a strange disciple. It's really a joke. It's such a waste of this young man's top-notch aptitude as the #1 nascent soul realm cultivator in history. Isn't this story very funny? The Ant Lord had been suppressed by Omniscient Old Man for many years. Naturally, whenever he had the chance, he would try his best to make fun of Omniscient Old Man. Ning Fan's expression was terrifyingly gloomy. Somehow, he and Omniscient Old Man seemed to have a brotherly relationship. How could he tolerate others making fun of Omniscient Old Man? "Shut up. If you dare to laugh again, don't blame me for punishing you." Ning Fan was very angry. The result of his anger was the overwhelming aura force of the 2 spirits, making the Ant Lord tremble in fear. "Little ant, why are you being so fierce? Can't you talk nicely if you don't allow me to laugh?" The Ant Lord was terrified. This was the true wrath of a fiend god. It actually gave her the illusion that existences on the same level as Ancestor Hongjun, Ancestor Li, and the Lord of Tribulation thought were angry. Ning Fan no longer paid attention to the Ant Lord. With a muffled voice, he continued to read the Jade Slip. The Jade Slip did not only record Omniscient Old Man's Yin and Yang 4 symbols but also others' Yin and Yang 4 symbols. Even though the Yin and Yang 4 symbols was the ultimate technique of the 2 forms sect, it was not created by the 2 forms saint. Instead, it was a great divine ability that had existed since ancient times. Of course, the disciples of the 2 forms sect were not the only ones who had mastered it. There were also other people who had mastered it. He began to try to cultivate the Yin and Yang 4 symbols. The four symbols could not be mastered in one go. Instead, he needed to master them one by one. Ning Fan closed his eyes and immersed his consciousness into his inner world. As he began to cultivate the yin and yang four symbols, a grand formation of 5 directions appeared in his inner world. Strange. Why is it a 5 directions formation? Ning Fan was slightly surprised. When ordinary people cultivate the yin and yang four symbols, they would form a formation of 4 directions. However, he formed a formation of 5 directions. The reason why this happened was probably related to the uniqueness of his primordial spirit body. His 5 directions formation was directly arranged according to the divine, devil, demon, immortal, and ghost. His true self was sitting on the divine seat of the 5 directions formation. As for the other 4 seats, 3 of them were empty. Only the devil spirit's seat was occupied by an illusory young man. The features of that young devil spirit were exactly the same as Ning Fan's. That young devil spirit's cultivation base was very weak. It was only at the vein opening realm. That young devil spirit seemed to be incomplete. His eyes were always closed and he did not talk to Ning Fan. That young devil spirit's yin qi was very heavy. The so-called yin qi was actually relatively speaking. Compared to Ning Fan, his existence was more ethereal and illusory. That was why his yin qi was very heavy. If Ning Fan were to encounter cultivators from the true world, he would also appear to have extremely heavy yin qi compared to them. Ning Fan tried to establish a spiritual connection with that young devil spirit. He had an illusion. That young devil spirit was neither his second primordial spirit nor his clone. It was another version of him. He actually created another version of himself based on the existence of his true self. If I can make this young devil spirit open his eyes and establish a true spiritual connection with me, I will be able to cultivate the first of the 4 symbols. However, how should I do it? Ning Fan opened his eyes and stared at the young devil spirit. No matter how he stared at him or how he tried to communicate with him, the young devil spirit just kept his eyes closed and ignored him. All of a sudden, Ning Fan had an epiphany. He closed his eyes and separated himself from his 5 senses as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. At this moment, the young devil spirit opened his eyes in a strange manner. His eyes were filled with a hint of blankness. There were countless parallel reincarnations in the world. Not all parallel reincarnations had 4 heavens and 9 worlds. Not all parallel reincarnations had universal cultivation planets. No one could see through all parallel reincarnations because, theoretically, the number of parallel reincarnations was infinite. However, even a 4th-step immortal sovereign's cultivation base was still limited to a limited number of reincarnations. In an inconspicuous small reincarnation, there was a world called the mortal world. It was said that there was a spiritual world above the mortal world. It was said that there was an immortal world above the spiritual world. In the mortal world, there were countless Buddhist sects and many Buddhist countries. This was a cultivation world where Buddhist cultivators were the most respected. The Tao sects had declined and there were few talents. Children had to receive enlightenment on Buddhist Dharma from a very young age. Those disciples of cultivation clans had to cultivate the Bhikkhu Sutra of Buddhist sects since they were young in an attempt to increase their Buddhist power and become a true bhikkhu. The so-called bhikkhu referred to the lowest level of Buddhist cultivators. At this moment, in the Bai clan of Hassa, a test of Buddhist power was being conducted. Buddhist power, 3rd level. Looking at the 5 shining words on the stone tablet, the black-robed young man named Bai Fan remained expressionless. His lips curled into a self-deprecating smile. Due to the strength he used to clench his fists tightly, his nails pierced deep into his palms, bringing him waves of excruciating pain. Bai Fan, Buddhist power, 3rd level. Grade 3. Beside the stone tablet, a middle-aged man who was in charge of the assessment glanced at the information displayed on the tablet and announced Bai Fan's result with an indifferent tone. All of a sudden, the entire Bai clan was filled with mocking laughter. They were mocking the fallen genius of the Bai clan because his Buddhist power was actually declining year after year. Not only did it not increase, but it also regressed year after year. Bai Fan himself was also very depressed. He didn't know why he hated Buddhist Dharma since he was a child. He was not stupid, but he was not interested in learning Buddhist Dharma. He hated the boring morning classes, noon classes, and evening classes every day. He hated reciting Buddhist scriptures that taught people to endure hardships and accept their fate. He didn't agree with all the Buddhist supernatural powers. None of the supernatural powers of Buddhism that he learned had a compatibility rate of more than 10%. Although he hated Buddhist Dharma, he still forced himself to cultivate Buddhist power hard in order to stand out. Perhaps it was because of his innate aptitude. Although he rejected the Buddhist Dharma, the speed at which he cultivated the Buddhist Dharma was still extremely shocking. When he was 7 years old, he cultivated to 10th level of Buddhist power. Then he advanced to the laying foundation period and became a glorious Bhikkhu Buddhist cultivator. When he was 10 years old, he cultivated to the peak of the laying foundation period and was not far from breaking through to the golden core period. The cultivators of Hassa once made a list of the top 100 young people with talents, and Bai Fan was among the top 10. He was the hope of the Bai clan and also a genius that was highly valued by the cultivation world of Hassa. But then a strange thing happened. After that, his bad luck began. When he was 12 years old, a man as handsome as a god suddenly appeared in his inner world. That man's appearance was almost exactly the same as his, but he looked extremely old, as if he had experienced the accumulation of countless years. That man sat cross-legged and slept with his eyes closed. He never opened his eyes and never talked to him. Bai Fan didn't know who that godlike man was, and he couldn't drive this man out of his inner world. Since this godlike man appeared in his heart, his bad luck came one after another. His cultivation of Buddhist Dharma could no longer be improved, and it even began to fall. From half a step into the golden core period, his cultivation fell all the way to 3rd level of Buddhist power. He became the laughingstock of the whole Bai clan. What was more unfortunate was that he got the news that someone would come and ask him to break off the engagement soon. As expected, not long after Bai Fan's result was out, a group of cultivators rode on Buddhist clouds and came whistling over. These people were the royal guards of Hassa. The leader of these guards was a 15-year-old girl. She was the daughter of the king of Hassa, Princess Vulture. Back then, Bai Fan's talent was outstanding. In order to win over this talent, the king of Hassa personally contacted the Bai clan and arranged a marriage between Bai Fan and Princess Vulture. But later, Bai Fan's outstanding talent disappeared. Princess Vulture came today to break off the engagement. She glanced at the stone tablet arrogantly and was surprised to find that her fiancé, Bai Fan's cultivation had fallen again. Last year, he was still at 5th level of Buddhist power. This year, he was only at 3rd level. He was too weak. Therefore, Princess Vulture was even more determined to break off the engagement. She turned against the Bai clan on the spot and broke off the engagement with Bai Fan. The leader of the Bai clan was greatly embarrassed. He was so angry that his old wounds acted up again. He vomited blood and fell to the ground. Humiliation. How humiliating! Bai Fan gritted his teeth and helped the leader stand up. He glared at Princess Vulture. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't because of his anger. Because he was so angry, Bai Fan's eyes were burning with demonic fire. Demonic chi surged around him. He was never a Buddhist cultivator. There was a demon living in the depths of his heart. What? This Bai Fan is a demonic cultivator. In the vast land of Buddhism, he actually dares to learn from those demons and cultivate the demonic Tao. Everyone was shocked. Because of the prosperity of Buddhism, there were not many demonic cultivators in the human world. Occasionally, they would appear, but they would usually be suppressed and purified by the Buddhas. Seeing that Bai Fan had fallen into the demonic Tao, Princess Vulture wanted to order people to capture Bai Fan and lock him in the capital's prison. However, right at this moment, a light voice descended from the sky, accompanied by a sky full of flying petals. It was an extremely pleasant but cold voice of a woman. Bai Fan felt that he had heard that voice before, but he couldn't remember where. He's my demon. If you hurt him, I'll slaughter your entire country. A woman with a sword on her back came to save Bai Fan with a cold expression. Everyone was shocked when they saw the woman. It's the spiritual lady. The female demon ranked 10th in the demonic sect of the North region. Why is she here? Bai Fan wanted to raise his head to see the appearance of the spiritual lady. But before he could raise his head, his vision turned black and he fainted on the ground. In the world of Ning Fan's mind, Ning Fan opened his eyes. At the moment he opened his eyes, the young devil spirit who was sitting at the devil spirit position of the pentagonal formation closed his eyes in a strange manner. His chi became lifeless again. Bai Fan, spiritual lady, Ning Fan muttered to himself. When he closed his eyes, he seemed to have transformed into another identity and was living in another parallel reincarnation cycle. In that parallel reincarnation, his name seemed to be Bai Fan. He seemed to have experienced some bad luck. As for what it was, he couldn't remember it at all, as if he had just woken up from a dream. He could only vaguely remember that someone wanted to capture him. Then, a woman called the spiritual lady came to save him. Ning Fan tried his best to recall, but he couldn't remember what had happened in that era of reincarnation for Bai Fan. He inadvertently looked at Bai Fan again and suddenly became speechless. He closed his eyes. He remembered that the devil spirit Bai Fan was at the 3rd level of the vein opening realm. Now that he woke up from his sleep, he was surprised to find that Bai Fan's cultivation base had dropped to the 1st level of the vein opening realm. This devil spirit is really strange. Why is his cultivation base getting lower and lower? Bai Fan? I've used this name before. It was used to name one of the clones of Mo Lu's clone. Now, there's another Bai Fan. Ning Fan still did not fully understand the principle of the yin and yang 4 symbols. He did not understand why something similar to parallel reincarnation would happen. He could not be sure if this was a special case of him or if the yin and yang 4 symbols were always like this. He wanted to close his eyes and live as the devil spirit Bai Fan for a while to experiment. However, at this moment, he received a summon from Bei Xiaoman. The 3rd round had begun. He left the world of his mind. He had to become a chess soldier and participate in the 3rd round on behalf of Bei Xiaoman. Let's end the battle quickly. Ning Fan's body swayed and disappeared from his original spot. 10 breaths later, he returned to his original spot and continued to meditate with his legs crossed. His mind sank into the world of his mind. At the foot of the stone room mountain in the Sea of Time, Bei Xiaoman's opponent for the 3rd round was a chess player who was dressed like a wandering monk. This person was attached to the Eastern Palace and his Buddhist name was Xiao Su. Amitba. It's meaningless to throw the pieces to decide the first move. This old monk has a suggestion. Is 4th Miss willing to listen to it? Xiao Su squinted his eyes and said with a smile. What advice does Master have for me? Bei Xiaoman was very polite in the beginning. After all, Monk Xiao Su was very famous in the Northern Heaven chess world. I want to use one of my toes to exchange for 4th Miss's first move. What do you think? Xiao Su's words were shocking. As soon as he said those words, he took out an iron rod and smashed the thumb of his left foot. Instantly, the pain pierced his heart and blood flowed out. However, his facial expression remained the same. There was not a single change in his expression. It was obvious how terrifying his endurance was. Bei Xiaoman's expression changed. Monk Xiao Su had already smashed one of his toes. If she did not give him the first move, she would have to give up some of her body parts. Otherwise, how would she have the face to compete for the first move? Then, here comes the problem. She had heard that Monk Xiao Su's first move was very powerful. It was said that up until now, he had never lost a single move. This person must have seen her winning without doing anything and knew that there was something fishy going on. That was why he purposely fought for the first move. He wanted to use the advantage of the first move to kill off her trickery. How about it? 4th Miss, are you going to give me the first move? Could it be that you think that using one toe to exchange for the first move is not enough? But, clang! Monk Xiao Su smashed the thumb of his right foot again. Bei Xiaoman was speechless. She could see Monk Xiao Su's determination. He had already smashed 2 toes. If she still did not give him the first move, it would be too unreasonable. Fine, I'll give him the first move. She also wanted to see if she could still win the 3rd round without doing anything after giving her the upper hand. It probably wouldn't happen again. 10 breaths later, Bei Xiaoman was so shocked that she could not close her mouth. Opposite her, Monk Xiaosu was completely speechless. Monk Xiaosu sacrificed 2 toes and finally got the first move. However, before he could even finish arranging his chess pieces, the spirit general exploded. He actually lost without doing anything. Winner, Bei Xiaoman. Bei Xiaoman won 3 games in a row without doing anything. The great elder of the Eastern Palace wore a gloomy expression. He looked at everything that happened in front of him in disbelief. Who can tell me? What did that bitch Bei Xiaoman do? Why did she win without doing anything? Why can't Monk Xiaosu do anything to her? The elders of the Eastern Palace kept quiet out of fear. None of them could answer this question. They were different from the elders of the Western Palace. They did not receive the news that Ning Fan was hiding in Bei Xiaoman's residence. They did not know that Bei Xiaoman was involved with Zhao Jian, an ancient great cultivator. Of course, they could not find a reasonable explanation. Only the few elders of the Western Palace knew the inside story. Of course, they knew why Bei Xiaoman could win. Bei Xiaoman used the back door to arrange for Ning Fan to enter the four-sided chess world in advance. Moreover, these few old men were the ones who personally handled the matter. They could not wait to let Ning Fan enter the four-sided chess world in advance. After all, when the chess soldiers officially enter the chess world, each of them would receive the attention of countless spectators. It was hard to guarantee that no one would recognize Ning Fan. If Ning Fan entered the four-sided chess world in advance, no one would notice him. It was funny that the others were still kept in the dark until now. After the elders of the Western Palace looked at each other, they clapped their hands and laughed heartily. Then, they ran to the people of the Eastern Palace to annoy them. The first elder of the Western Palace said, "Wonderful! Wonderful! This is the real hand of God. Before the game has even started, you have already lost the entire game." The second elder of the Western Palace said, "Fourth Miss chess skill has already surpassed the game itself. He must have touched upon the legendary laws of chess. Only by doing so could she defeat the chess players of the opponent without even fighting." The third elder of the Western Palace said, "If the human king doesn't kill, he has the momentum to subdue his opponent. Before the chess piece is placed, he has the momentum to win. I believe that fourth miss must have relied on the momentum to win." The fourth elder of the Western Palace said, "Who is the peak at the end of the road of chess? Fourth Mrs. Dao has become nothing. We can't afford to offend her." Nonsense. I have lived for so many years, but I have never heard of any Dao of chess in this world that can allow someone to win in the first game. Your Western Palace must have cheated. The great elder said angrily. "Hee, please be careful with your words, great elder. How can great elder accuse others without any evidence? Winning without doing anything is not cheating. How can a cultivator's matter be considered cheating? Don't make fun of me." Then, the elders of the Western Palace told the great elder about the principles of "a gentleman is always poor" and "a wise man is always poor," which made the crowd burst into laughter. The entire stone room mountain was filled with a cheerful atmosphere. The great elder of the Western Palace was so angry that his face turned green. He was not stupid. How could he not see that something was fishy? There must be something that was out of his control. The few elders of the Western Palace looked like villains who were intoxicated with success. One look and he knew that they had something to hide. "Men, go and investigate. Find out if there are any powerful figures that came to the Western Palace Island recently," the great elder ordered in a low voice. Unfortunately, the news of Ning Fan had already been sealed by the elders of the Western Palace. They even hid it from the palace lord, Yuan Yao. How could they let outsiders know about it? The great elder sent people to investigate, but they could not find anything. No matter how he thought about it, he still felt that Bei Xiaoman had used some special method to cheat, but he could not find any evidence. "Great elder, what should we do now?" The other elders of the Eastern Palace asked with an ugly expression. Their Eastern Palace had done a lot of tricks for the second round of the competition. They were determined to win the second round. However, if Bei Xiaoman really cheated all the way and won without doing anything, their arrangements would most likely fail. "Let's wait. I don't believe that Bei Xiaoman can really win all the way, the great elder said in a deep voice. In a parallel universe. Bai Fan opened his eyes blankly and woke up from his coma. As soon as he opened his eyes, he could not remember that he was Ning Fan. He only remembered that he was Bai Fan, the fallen genius of the Bai clan. Previously, he had exposed his devil cultivation base and was captured by the spirit vulture princess. Then, he was rescued by a female devil named Ling Nu. Miss, may I know how long I have been unconscious and where is this place? Bai Fan noticed that there was a maidservant serving beside the bed, so he asked. Madam, you have been unconscious for 10 days. You are currently in Blood Marshal Mountain. The servant girl answered respectfully. However, there were many strange things in her words. She actually addressed Bai Fan as Madam. Bai Fan was obviously a young man. How did he become a madam? However, Bai Fan did not think too much about it. He just thought that he had just woken up and heard the wrong address. Wait, Miss is saying that I am currently in Blood Marshal Mountain? Bai Fan could not stay calm anymore. Blood Marshal Mountain was the territory of devil cultivators. He was someone from the Buddha country. Why would he appear in the territory of devil cultivators? Could it be that he was kidnapped by the Ling Nu? Speaking of which, who was the Ling Nu? He did not know much about the forces of devil cultivators in the Saha world. Could it be that the Ling Nu was from the Blood Marshal sect? May I ask where is the Ling Nu lady who saved me now? As soon as Bai Fan spoke, the servant girl's expression suddenly changed. She said angrily, My lord saved you out of kindness and even married you. You are not grateful. You even imitated those righteous Buddhists and scolded my lord as a Ling Nu. How rude. Was Ling Nu a scolding term? He did not know. Before he fainted, he heard others call her that. What do you mean by marry me? Bai Fan's face suddenly turned black. He had a vague feeling that something was wrong. He then sensed his dantian and immediately sighed. His cultivation level of the 3rd level of vein opening had fallen again. This time, it had fallen to the 1st level of vein opening. Not right. What is the 1st level of vein opening? His current cultivation level should be called the 1st level of Buddha force. Why did a strange term suddenly appear in his mind? Oh, are you awake, little guy? Suddenly, a beautiful figure with a fragrant wind walked in from the door. As soon as she saw the person, the servant girl immediately knelt on the ground and greeted the Lord. Bai Fan raised his head and looked. His eyes were fixed on the person's face. It was a woman with a cold appearance and a long sword on her back. Her appearance was very beautiful, but that was not the main point. The main point was that Bai Fan felt that he had seen this woman somewhere before. Ching Ching Ling. Bai Fan could not help but shout out. As soon as the words came out, he was at a loss. He did not know why he called this woman Qing Ling. It seemed to be a habit. Ji Qing Ling let out a soft cry of surprise. She did not understand why Bai Fan, who was meeting her for the first time, could accurately call her by her common name. She had already abandoned that common name for many years. Today, she was called the Blood Marshal Master by her fellow Devil Dao cultivators and was called the Ling Nu by the righteous Buddhist cultivators. Previously, she just happened to pass by the Bai clan and happened to see the scene of Bai Fan being broken off his engagement, leaking devil chi, and being captured. She actually did not understand why she had to meddle in other people's business and save Bai Fan. She was only driven by instinct and saved him. There was no reason and there was no need for a reason. Chapter 12:33. The cultivation of the yin and yang 4 symbols wasn't something that could be done in a day. With Ning Fan's current cultivation of the 4 symbols, he was still unable to communicate with the devil spirit's mind. Every time he opened his eyes, he couldn't remember what he had experienced in his reincarnation as the demonic spirit youth. There was always a barrier between him and the devil spirit. Ning Fan's current cultivation base was far from enough to break this barrier. That barrier was called samsara. The cultivation of the yin-yang 4 symbols was filled with difficulties. Fortunately, every time Ning Fan awakened from his devil spirit body, he would extract a small amount of yin and yang qi from the transformation of the 2 eras. After a few hundred days of cultivation, he would be able to refine a strand of yin and yang qi. In order to activate the Taiji life and death realm, one would need at least 1,000,000 strands of yin and yang qi. The cultivation of the yin and yang 4 symbols could not be accomplished in one go. Ning Fan also did not expect to be able to master such a great divine ability within a short period of time. He did not forget that his main purpose in coming to the Four Corners chess realm was not to cultivate, but to help Bei Xiaoman play every game. Inside the four-sided chess world, Ning Fan moved again and again to eliminate the enemy's chess group. In the real world, Bei Xiaoman defeated her opponents again and again. Her ranking in the number of victories was getting higher and higher. 13 wins and 0 losses. In the blink of an eye, Bei Xiaoman had won 13 rounds in a row, and every round was a crushing victory. More often than not, the opponent would lose the entire game the moment the game started. On the East Palace's seats, the Great Elder was hopping mad. He had secretly arranged a bunch of Six Bows national champions for Bei Xiaoman, but none of them could end Bei Xiaoman's winning streak. Huang Longshi, Shi Xiangxia, Su Xingyou, Lu Zhongfu. One after another, Northern Sky's national experts were defeated by Bei Xiaoman. Gradually, Bei Xiaoman's record rose to 35 wins and 0 losses. Bei Xiaoman had already defeated a powerful national expert. It was obvious that Yu Zi could not shake Bei Xiaoman's winning streak. Thus, the Grand Elder became anxious. He had no choice but to be anxious. The chess tournament at Shirshir Mountain used a 50-game system, and everyone could only play 50 games. After 50 rounds, they would be ranked according to the number of wins and losses. If there were people who had the same number of victories and defeats, these people would fight each other again to determine the winner. At this rate, Bei Xiaoman would be able to finish all 50 matches in a short while. She would definitely be number 1. Although the second round of the competition was insignificant, the Great Elder did not want the people of the Western Palace to be so outstanding, especially when it was Yuan Yao's daughter. Suddenly, a disciple of the Eastern Palace who was in charge of communication came to report, "Good news, good news. Venerable Go has agreed to our request and is rushing over. However, the agreed price must be doubled." "What? Venerable Go is willing to help us? How much longer until he arrives?" The Great Elder was overjoyed. As long as Venerable Go arrived, Bei Xiaoman's winning streak would be ended. Venerable Go sent a voice transmission saying that he is not far away in the starry sky. He will definitely arrive within 5 games. The Eastern Palace disciple reported, Good. As long as Venerable Go is willing to come, not to mention doubling the price, the Eastern Palace is willing to pay 10 times the price. This time, we must kill the arrogance of the Western Palace." The Great Elder smiled coldly. He wanted to see if Bei Xiaoman could continue to be lucky after Venerable Go arrived. 36 wins and 0 losses. 37 wins and 0 losses. 38 wins and 0 losses. Bei Xiaoman's winning streak kept increasing. In the end, she was already completely numb to the fact that she could win without doing anything. Is it little Fan? Is he the one who has been helping me win all the way? Bei Xiaoman was secretly delighted. No matter how stupid she was, she could vaguely tell who was the one who contributed to all of this. No matter who her opponent was. No matter how strong her opponent's chess pieces were. She could destroy all of her opponent's chess pieces at the first moment. All of this was because she had a freakishly strong chess devil, Ning Fan. The feeling of being protected by her gigolo was indescribably sweet. Bei Xiaoman's heart felt like it was smeared with honey. Even though the feeling of winning without doing anything felt great, the problem was how could her little Fan be so powerful? Her impression of Ning Fan was still the same as in the past. A few hundred years ago, Ning Fan was just a little devil lord in the endless sea of the rain world. A few hundred years later, he could already defeat the chess pieces of the northern heaven? Previously, little Fan told me that he is actually a heaven-defying immortal king. Could it be that he wasn't joking? Oh my God! He actually became an immortal king. He only spent a few hundred years and he even came from the rain world. But I actually thought that he was just a void refinement realm cultivator. When she thought of this, Bei Xiaoman could no longer feel happy. Instead, she covered her face in embarrassment. Shameful. This is way too shameful. Previously, she actually foolishly thought that Ning Fan was just a void refinement realm junior. How stupid must I be to think that an immortal king is a void refinement realm cultivator? How stupid must I be to have a big heart to raise an immortal king old monster as my gigolo? What is Xiaoman doing? That posture of covering her face. Is she celebrating her 38 consecutive victories? Her eldest sister, Bei Shi, and her third sister, Bei Li, quietly observed Bei Xiaoman. Coo. According to my understanding of Xiaoman, every time she cries because of her own stupidity, she will cover her face like a defeated dog. I guess this time, she might have encountered something that made her cry because of her own stupidity. The second sister, Bei Qinghan, covered her face with a small fan and said with a strange smile. Speaking of which, what cultivation base did Xiaoman invite? Could it be a peak immortal king? Otherwise, without an immortal emperor, who would be able to win 38 consecutive victories in the Four Corners chess world? Bei Shi and Bei Li did not pay much attention to Bei Xiaoman recently. Thus, they did not know that Ning Fan was by her side. Coo. Xiaoman has indeed invited an incredible person. I don't know whether he is a peak immortal king or not. But his ability to steal a woman's beauty is enough to be the best in the northern heaven. Of course. How could a person who could accept Xiaoman and her mother not be good at playing with women? The more Bei Qinghan thought about the indescribable scene between Ning Fan and her mother, the more excited she became. Steal a woman's beauty? Could the powerful chess soldier that Xiaoman invited be an old ancestor of the evil Dao? Bei Shi and Bei Li were extremely worried. They were worried that Xiaoman would suffer a loss. They were worried that Xiaoman would pay a heavy price for a momentary victory. Is it so easy to invite an old ancestor-level expert of the evil Dao? Either you have to pay a heavy price or he has other plans for you. Coo. I'm not sure if he is someone of the evil Dao. However, I'm sure that he has slept with Xiaoman before. Bei Qinghan deliberately did not reveal Ning Fan's true identity. Instead, she used words to mislead her two sisters. She liked to see her sisters' anxious faces. Hearing this, Bei Shi and Bei Li became anxious. They couldn't imagine that Xiaoman would sacrifice her body just to ask someone from the evil path to help her. That silly girl, why would she sacrifice herself like this? Was it just to kill everyone in the second round? No. She did it for Mother. She definitely wants to be the best in the second round and fight for Mother's honor in front of the entire northern heaven. However, how can the Water Sect, who has an engagement with Xiaoman, let go of the matter? Once this matter is exposed, the Water Sect will be concerned about their reputation. How can they let Xiaoman go? Bei Shi and Bei Li quickly understood the crux of the matter. While they were touched by Bei Xiaoman's filial piety, they were also worried about her future. When the two of them were playing chess, they went to find Yuan Yao. They wanted to talk to their mother about Xiaoman and come up with a way to protect her. However, Yuan Yao's eyes were staring blankly at the moment. She did not even notice that her two daughters were talking to her. No matter how they called her, she would not reply. Left with no choice, the two of them went back to prepare for the next round of chess. They planned to discuss this matter with their mother after the second round ends. Yuan Yao was too focused. She spread out her spirit sense to observe every game that Bei Xiaoman played. She was not looking at the game itself but a certain chess piece on the chessboard. She remembered that Ning Fan seemed to have become Bei Xiaoman's chess devil. Could that little fellow be the one who helped Bei Xiaoman achieve 38 consecutive victories? What exactly is his cultivation base? 39 wins and 0 losses. 40 wins and 0 losses. Seeing that Bei Xiaoman had won another 5 games and revered chess, who was supposed to arrive, had yet to arrive, the great elder's heart was burning with anxiety. He had even prepared himself for the worst. He planned to accept the fact that the disciple of the West Palace had obtained the first place in the chess battle. However, at this moment, immortal music and the chanting of scriptures were heard from the sky above the Stone Room Mountain. 8 young ladies carried a bridal sedan and arrived with the wind. There was no isolation formation on the bridal sedan. Thus, The cultivators only needed to use their spirit sense to scan the sedan, and they would be able to see the person who was sitting in the sedan. It was a fat old man. That fat old man had an ugly appearance. However, he was wearing a white robe that was embroidered with clouds. There was even a flower on his head. As soon as they saw that the person who arrived was actually this old man, the cultivators began to discuss among themselves. It's actually revered Chess. Why is this old man here? Isn't he busy teaching the new female disciple of his family? You're really ignorant. A few months ago, this person's newly accepted female disciple suddenly died. How tragic. How many times has it been? I heard that a few chess pieces were dug out from the body of the female disciple who was killed by him last time. I wonder how she will die this time. Strange. This person's reputation is too bad. The Lost World Palace should not have invited him to participate in the chess battle. Why is he here? Is he here to be a spectator? It turned out that this fat old man was the infamous revered Chess of the North Heaven. Although revered Chess was called revered Chess, he was actually a 5-tribulation immortal king. He was a peak immortal king who was half a step away from the immortal emperor realm. This person's methods were even more treacherous and powerful. It was said that he once offended a certain great emperor of the North Heaven because of his lust for women. In the end, he even defeated that great emperor of the North Heaven. Being able to defeat an immortal emperor as an immortal king, this person's strength was evident. What was more troublesome was that this person had a master. His master was a sage-to-be with the title of True Lord Fuzé. He was also infamous in the entire North Heaven. If not for the extremely bad reputation of his master and disciple, a powerful figure like revered Chess would be sought after wherever he went. He would not be in such a situation where he was being looked down upon by others. Strange. Why is this person here? Yuan Yao frowned. The guests of the second round were all invited in advance. She was very sure that this revered Chess was not on the invitation list. Just as she was hesitating whether to welcome this person, a few elders of the East Palace had already stepped forward to welcome him. Revered elder, you are finally here. You have kept us waiting. The great elder bowed respectfully. Cut the crap. Where is the reward? This old man will not take action without any reward. Revered Chess walked down the sedan chair and said arrogantly, "Ha, revered elder, you can rest assured. As long as you represent the East Palace in the tournament, we will naturally offer you the promised double reward." Ha. Very good, very good. In that case, once the chess tournament is over, this old man will go to your East Palace to pick 20 female disciples. As soon as he finished speaking, revered Chess walked directly towards the chess tournament arena. He actually intended to participate in the chess tournament as a chess player of the East Palace. Everyone present was astounded. No one expected that revered Chess would actually participate in the chess tournament directly and not be a spectator. Moreover, revered Chess was actually invited by the great elder of the Lost World Palace. The reward was the sacrifice of 20 female disciples of the East Palace. Hold on. This is against the rules. Yuan Yao had to step in. Nothing could be accomplished without rules. The Lost World Palace tournament was an important event. Naturally, there were rules that could not be changed. Firstly, revered Chess was a chess player from the outside. He was not a disciple of the Lost World Palace or a foreign elder. Even if he participated in the second round, he could only participate as a chess player and not a chess player. Secondly, revered Chess came too late. The tournament had already started for a long time. According to the rules, it was not allowed to join the chess tournament halfway through. Most importantly, the Lost World Palace was a great sect. How could they offer their female disciples just to curry favor with an evil cultivator? Revered Chess might have a high cultivation level, but Yuan Yao still decided to fight for what was right. She voiced out her reasoning in hopes that revered Chess would understand and not force them to participate in the tournament. She also hoped that he would not harm the female disciples of the Lost World Palace. Revered Chess was very angry. He did not participate in the chess tournament of his own accord. If it was not for the humble request of the great elder of the Lost World Palace and the offer of double reward, he would not even bother to come to this lousy mountain and play this lousy game of chess. Yes, he was very skilled in chess. But so what? He was not interested in playing chess. He was more interested in playing with women. Revered Chess was about to explode when he saw someone stopping him from participating in the tournament. However, when he saw that it was the beautiful Yuan Yao who stopped him, his anger suddenly turned into evil. His sneer also turned into an evil smile. Interesting. Interesting. You are just a little girl in the shedding void state. How dare you disrespect me? If you dare to be presumptuous again, don't blame me for entering your room at night after the chess tournament. Ha! Arrogant. How arrogant! No matter how incompetent Yuan Yao was, she was still the sect master of the Lost World Palace in name. Revered Chess was flirting with her and did not respect the Lost World Palace at all. Many disciples of the Lost World Palace were furious but did not dare to say anything. Revered Chess had a powerful background. Behind him stood the quasi-saint patriarch, perfected Lord Fu Zhe. Ordinary people could not afford to offend Revered Chess. Even the few immortal emperor patriarchs of the Lost World Palace could not afford to offend this person. Senior, please be careful with your words. Our sect master has a noble status. Her clean reputation is not something you can ruin. Before Yuan Yao could fly into a rage, a few West Palace elders stepped forward to protect Yuan Yao, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. I don't understand. Didn't they say that Yuan Yao was not well liked in the Lost World Palace? Didn't they say that even the West Palace elders were extremely disrespectful to Yuan Yao? In that case, who could explain what was wrong with these West Palace elders for them to be so loyal to their sect master and to publicly contradict Revered Chess? What? Revered Chess was also stunned. No matter how bad his reputation was, he was still a peak immortal king who could fight immortal emperors. He even had a quasi-saint master behind him. Since when did a few true immortals from the Lost World Palace dare to contradict him? Could it be that the world had changed and the strong were no longer respected? Good. Very good indeed. It seems that too many people have forgotten my ferocious name by not coming out into the world. Venerable Qi smiled coldly. Indeed, the northern heaven was a place that was particular about the rule of law. Everything had to be done according to the heavenly rules of the Four-Fish sect. However, this did not mean that he could not punish a few true immortals. Revered Chess sneered as he stretched out his fleshy palm. As the magic power in his palm was released, illusory chess pieces immediately appeared in his palm. This is the Tao law of chess. Oh no, this old man is going to bully us by using the intelligence-destroying devil chess against us. It was rumored that Revered Chess cultivated the Tao law of chess and created a series of powerful abilities based on this Tao law. One of them was called the intelligence-destroying devil chess. Those who were hit by the intellect demonic chess would have their intelligence and comprehension reduced. The reduced portion would be reflected back to the venerated chess master according to the ratio, causing the venerated chess master's intelligence and comprehension to far surpass that of ordinary people. These West Palace elders only dared to contradict Revered Chess because of Ning Fan's reputation. Now that they saw that Revered Chess was going to use a ruthless move, they immediately became terrified. Just as they were about to apologize to Revered Chess humbly, they suddenly heard an angry shout coming from outside the Stone Room Mountain. Who dares to behave atrociously in the Stone Room Mountain? Who dares to disrespect Palace Lord Yuan Yao? This angry roar was accompanied by the might of an immortal emperor. It arrived suddenly and locked onto Venerable Go with the mighty might of an immortal emperor. Caught off guard, Revered Chess was hit by the angry shout. He could not help but feel his magic power stagnate. The intelligence-destroying devil chess that was brewing in his hand also dissipated randomly. Which immortal emperor friend is shouting here? Please come and meet me. Revered Chess was embarrassed. His heart was filled with hatred, thinking that the immortal emperor of the Lost World Palace must have intervened after seeing his disciple being bullied. However, his guess was wrong. In fact, A few immortal emperor old ancestors of the Lost World Palace had been in seclusion recently to help the Four Profound sect refine a magic treasure to deal with the foreign races in the North Border River. Due to this reason, the old ancestors who were in seclusion did not care about what was happening in the outside world. They had no idea that their disciples were being bullied in the Stone Room Mountain. It was even more impossible for them to intervene. As expected, the one who intervened was not the immortal emperor of the Lost World Palace, but the Ocean Sand sect's Grand Emperor. How could it be him? Why would he meddle in the affairs of the Lost World Palace? Revered Chess was a little confused. Most of the cultivators here also could not figure out the reason behind it. Only a few of them knew why the Ocean Sand Emperor intervened. Of course, it was because of the great cultivator Zhao Jian from the ancient times. Ning Fan had stirred up a storm in Western Palace Island, and he did not hide anything. Those who had some ability would be able to find out what he had been doing recently. The Ocean Sand Emperor glanced at Yuan Yao inconspicuously. The reason why he intervened was to stand up for this woman. It was because this woman's identity was not ordinary. It was because Senior Zhao Jian had taken a liking to this woman. If it was during normal times, he certainly would not be willing to become enemies with a dangerous person like Revered Chess. Of all the things he shouldn't have done, he shouldn't have blasphemed Yuan Yao and Senior Zhao's woman. He had received a great favor from Senior Zhao. He was supposed to die in the heavenly tribulation, but he was saved by Senior Zhao. He owed Senior Zhao his life. Since he owed him a life, he should repay him with his own life. Fellow Taoist Ocean Sand, what do you mean by this? I made things difficult for the juniors of the Lost World Palace, but I did not provoke the disciples of your Ocean Sand sect. What are you doing? Do you think that I am weak and easy to bully? Or do you think that my master is weak and easy to bully? I heard that you have just successfully passed your heavenly tribulation and was lucky enough to survive another major heavenly tribulation. It's better if you don't force yourself. Revered Chess was afraid that his reputation would not be able to scare the old immortal emperors, Ocean Sand Emperor. Thus, he mentioned his master. If it was someone else, they would probably be frightened by Revered Chess's quasi-sage realm master. However, who was Ocean Sand Emperor? He was a follower of Tao the Perfected Lord. In this life, he only respected Senior Zhao. Even if your master was an ancient great cultivator like Senior Zhao, I would not allow you to bully Senior Zhao's family, let alone a first-level quasi-sage. Qi Lu, I can ignore whatever you do in the Lost World Palace. However, if you dare to disrespect Palace Lord Yuan Yao again, I will make you pay the price even if I have to spill my blood in the northern heavens today. Ocean Sand Emperor's eyes were filled with anger and a hint of madness. It was the madness of a follower. Revered Chess was shocked by the madness in Ocean Sand Emperor's words. He thought to himself, has this guy become stupid after going through a major heavenly tribulation? Why does he want to risk his life for no reason? Yuan Yao was also confused about the situation. She had no relationship with Ocean Sand sect. Even if she did, she was not qualified to be protected by an immortal emperor with her insignificant cultivation. Things were getting stranger and stranger. Others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. Revered Chess was afraid of Ocean Sand Emperor's aura, but he did not show any weakness in his words. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, another celestial emperor's voice came from outside the Stone Room Mountain. If one Taoist Ocean Sand is not enough, how about I join as well? Another immortal emperor actually came and stood on Ocean Sand Emperor's side. It's Perfected Tao Li. Wasn't he busy preaching today and did not have time to watch the second round? Why is he here all of a sudden? More and more people were surprised. No one expected that they would be able to see a confrontation between several forefathers of Northern Heaven just by watching the chess tournament on the Stone Room Mountain. The person who came was Perfected Tao Li, a sixth tribulation great emperor. The reason why he came to the Stone Room Mountain was not because he was interested in the chess tournament, but because he sensed that someone was extremely daring and disrespectful to Yuan Yao. Like Ocean Sand Emperor, Perfected Tao Li was also a loyal believer of the ancient great cultivator Zhao Jian. He could ignore Revered Chess bullying others, But if he dared to be disrespectful to Yuan Yao, he would make revered chess pay the price even if he had to risk his life. What a joke! Why is this old man standing up for the Lost World Palace? Revered chess's expression turned serious. One ocean sand emperor was enough. If perfected Tao Li was added to the mix, he would have to restrain himself today. Otherwise, he would really be at a disadvantage. I just want to play chess. Why are all of you old fellows trying to stop me? Revered chess's tone was obviously softer. However, perfected Tao Li's tone was still very tough. He pointed at revered chess's nose and scolded him like he was lecturing his disciple. Play chess? What qualifications do you have to participate in the chess tournament at the Stone Room Mountain? Did Palace Lord Yuan Yao agree to it? Senior Tao Li, this matter does not require the sect lord's approval. I am fully responsible for the chess tournament at the Stone Room Mountain. If I say that Venerable Chess can participate, then he can. The great elder spoke weakly and wanted to refute. This was the greatest courage he had mustered to refute a mighty immortal emperor. How dare you refute me? Perfected Tao Li had a strong character and hated it when juniors refuted him. He immediately glared at the great elder of the Lost World Palace. How could the great elder withstand an immortal emperor's glare? He was immediately shaken by the huge pressure and could not speak a word. This was ultimately the internal affairs of the Lost World Palace. Even if perfected Tao Li and Ocean Sand Emperor wanted to intervene, they could not do so. At most, they could only defend Yuan Yao. Seeing that Yuan Yao sighed but did not refute the great elder, perfected Tao Li and Ocean Sand Emperor knew that the great elder was speaking the truth. The person who could decide whether Venerable Chess could participate or not was not Yuan Yao but the great elder of the Lost World Palace. Fine. As an outsider, it is not appropriate for me to intervene in the internal affairs of the Lost World Palace. Otherwise, it will damage the reputation of the Lost World Palace. Do as you please. There is one thing I must remind you. If anyone dares to speak disrespectfully to Palace Lord Yuan Yao, don't blame me for not using my sword. Perfected Tao Li said. In the end, under the protection of the great elder, Venerable Chess made an exception and joined the chess tournament at the Stone Room Mountain. He was matched against Bei Xiaoman in the first round. At this moment, even a fool could tell that the great elder invited Venerable Chess to stop Bei Xiaoman's winning streak. The great elder was not afraid of others knowing his scheme because he had the support of the Eastern Palace's ancestral master. In the Lost World Palace, the Eastern Palace's ancestral master had the highest cultivation among all the immortal emperors. The only hateful thing was that the great elder had invited Venerable Chess to help, but Venerable Chess was humiliated by the Ocean Sand Emperor and perfected Tao Li. Even the great elder was embarrassed. He didn't know what was wrong with those two immortal emperor old monsters. Why did they want to support the people of the Western Palace? Venerable Chess was furious. He had only teased Yuan Yao once, and he had been contradicted repeatedly. First, a few perfected immortal elders of the Western Palace had boldly contradicted him. After that, the Sea Sand Emperor and Taoist Master Li joined hands to support Yuan Yao. It was unknown what went wrong. How hateful! Never mind, since I have been humiliated outside the chess game, I'll get it back on the chessboard. He had heard from the Eastern Palace that the chess player he was going to face today was none other than Yuan Yao's youngest daughter. Your mother humiliated me, so I'll get back at you. Venerable Chess sat down with a sullen face and raised his head to size up Bei Xiaoman, who was on the opposite side of the chessboard. He was immediately attracted by Bei Xiaoman's petite figure. If he could press her down on the couch and stuff the chess pieces inside, how happy would that be? Alright, he could use the chess pieces in the chess game to plant an illusion on her. After the chess battle, this girl would be at his mercy. According to the rules, before the game, the two had to exchange names. I am the chess player of the Eastern Palace, Qi Lu. Venerable Chess's eyes were as sharp as knives. He stared at Bei Xiaoman's little face as if he was looking at prey. Bei Xiaoman felt a chill under Venerable Chess's stare. She had heard of Venerable Chess's notoriety and was a little afraid. At the end of the day, she was just a junior. Sitting opposite her was an old demon comparable to an immortal emperor, and one who was extremely cruel to women. Naturally, she could not be fearless. Chess player of the Western Palace, Bei Xiaoman. Bei Xiaoman lost some of her confidence. This was the first time she felt that she would lose after winning 40 games in a row. She is Bei Xiaoman? Venerable Chess frowned. Bei Xiaoman was extremely special to Bei Tian. Of course, he had heard of this name, but it was his first time seeing her in person. He had heard that this little girl had been betrothed to the water sect. But so what? The water sect only wanted her value to the 8 stone soldiers' formations, while he, Qi Lu, wanted Bei Xiaoman's body. As long as he did not kill her, Rain Master would not pursue the matter on account of his master. Bei Xiaoman was afraid that she would lose to Venerable Chess. She was not worried about winning or losing. Instead, she was worried that Venerable Chess would be too strong and hurt Ning Fan, who was in the Four Corners Chess realm. In theory, the Four Corners Chess realm could not kill people. However, to a truly powerful expert, even if the Four Corners Chess realm could not kill people, it could still severely injure them. Out of selfishness, she was unwilling to compete with Venerable Chess. Thus, she took the initiative to admit defeat before the game started. Because of this, her record became 40 wins and 1 loss, which was a little imperfect. Xiaoman has such a competitive personality. She actually took the initiative to admit defeat? Bei Qinghan felt like it was her first time meeting Bei Xiaoman. She was so surprised that she even forgot to tell Kiki about it. I have already lost 1 game. According to the rules of chess battles, there will not be the same opponent in 50 games. In this way, I can avoid fighting with Venerable Chess. Bei Xiaoman secretly heaved a sigh of relief. However, she did not expect that her opponent in the next game was still Venerable Chess. It was the Great Elder's trick again. Little girl, if you only want to escape, you won't be able to escape from my palm. Venerable Chess's words had a double meaning. Seeing that she really could not avoid Venerable Chess, Bei Xiaoman gritted her teeth and did not continue to give up. She had a temper too, okay? Since you insist on playing chess, then I will just win without doing anything. Spirits of the heavens, spirits of the earth, little Fan, quickly show yourself and get rid of this annoying Venerable Chess. Little girl, to us chess players, prayers are useless. Your ending has already been decided. Venerable Chess sneered as he placed the chess pieces on the chessboard. He did not use chess soldiers. Instead, he directly separated the power of his primordial spirit and injected it into the chessboard. In an instant, a few of his primordial spirits were directly sent to the Four Corners Chess realm and turned into chess soldiers. He actually used his primordial spirits as chess soldiers. This person is really generous. One should know that if his primordial spirits joined forces, they could fight against a peak immortal king. There was no longer any suspense in this game. Most people believed that Bei Xiaoman would lose. Only a few people knew the truth and were not worried. Would Senior Zhao lose to Venerable Chess's primordial spirits? It was impossible. Ning Fan found it strange. It was already time for him to play the 41st game for Bei Xiaoman. However, she actually gave up and admitted defeat for some reason. Ning Fan did not know whether to laugh or cry. It seems like Xiaoman has encountered a powerful chess player. That's why she made such a decision. In a game of chess, giving up was sometimes a wise move. Giving up a chess piece would allow one to gain the upper hand. Giving up a game would allow one to win without losing any chess soldiers. This was considered a very common thing in a game of chess. On the contrary, those who did not know how to give up would never be able to reach the peak of chess. Ning Fan was very suspicious that the reason why he could not win against Bei Xiaoman in chess was because he was unwilling to give up his chess piece. His chess strategy was as clear as barbarian bulls. Forget it. It's just giving up a game. It's not a big deal. I'll just win it back for her in the next game. Time flew in the Four Corners Chess realm. After a few hundred days, the 42nd game arrived. Just as he was planning to eliminate all the chess soldiers of the opponent in one round, his expression suddenly changed. He was filled with anger. He felt the power of a Dao law. It was the power of the Dao law that the opponent had injected into the Four Corners Chess realm. That was the Tao law of chess. There was a person who had comprehended the Tao law of chess. He tried to use the Tao law of chess to condense an illusory technique and directly attack Bei Xiaoman's sea of consciousness through the game of chess. Ning Fan was, after all, a grandmaster in illusory techniques. With just a glance, he could tell that this illusory technique was similar to enslavement. Once it was planted, Bei Xiaoman would become the opponent's chess slave. Moreover, he could communicate with all living beings in the world. He could clearly hear the dirty thoughts of venerated chess in the depths of the illusory technique. All of a sudden, Ning Fan became silent. That was the silence that would only be triggered by extreme anger. He did not want to speak. He just wanted to kill. Killing intent rose in his eyes. The temperature of the Four Corners chess realm began to plummet, as if it had entered the ancient Ice Age. In the outside world, venerated chess was secretly setting up an illusory technique. He wanted to subdue Bei Xiaoman with a single move. All of a sudden, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His qi was greatly weakened. At the same time, all the chess pieces on his chessboard were destroyed. This meant that all of his divine clones that he had sent into the Four Corners chess realm had been destroyed. It was not just all of them. After his divine clones were killed, none of them managed to escape from the Four Corners chess realm. All of them had perished there. Who was it? Who was the one who ignored the rules of the Four Corners chess realm, killed his divine clones and destroyed the illusory technique that he had set up in the chessboard? Rumble. The chessboard exploded without any warning. Rainwater rose from the broken part of the chessboard and condensed into a white-robed young man with a pair of emotionless eyes. The way he looked at venerated chess did not carry the slightest emotion. He did not intend to talk to venerated chess any longer. It was just a gaze, but it seemed to carry the might of both yin and yang. It was just a gaze, but venerated chess was unable to withstand it. He was sent flying while coughing out blood. Venerated chess broke out in cold sweat. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was about to die. He did not know who the white-robed young man in front of him was. However, he could easily read the intention of this person to kill him. The aura force of this person was too terrifying. There was no end to this person's cultivation base. It was as if there were two layers of circles overlapping each other, covering everything. It was not something that venerated chess could see through. Even though he could not see through this person's cultivation base, no matter how foolish venerated chess was, he could tell that this person was a quasi-saint realm cultivator. He was definitely not weaker than his master, true Lord Fu Zhe. Senior, please calm down. I'm perfected Lord Fu Zhe's disciple. Senior, you can't. This junior knows his mistake. This junior knows his mistake. It was Venerable Go's pleading voice. Fellow Taoist, wait a moment. I still have use for this child, so I can't kill him. Let's talk this out. It was the voice of a certain sage to be hiding in the shadows. Ning Fan ignored both revered Qi and the quasi-sage who was hiding in the dark. He had only unleashed one strike. The rain in the world turned into a huge sword and killed Venerable Go with one strike. It also split the starry sky above Shirshir Mountain in half forever, unable to heal. The entire Shirshir Mountain was dead silent. No one had expected venerated Qi to be defeated right after he had set up his chess pieces. It would have been fine if he had only been defeated, but venerated Qi had been killed with a single strike. The aftermath of the sword Qi had even split the starry sky. The starry sky that had been split open was like the bloody mouth of a primordial beast that couldn't be healed no matter what. It was as if this sword had split the starry sky into two worlds of yin and yang. But here comes the problem. Who is this white-robed young man who killed venerated Qi and split the starry sky forever? Junior C. Sand greets Senior. Before the others could figure out the reason, C. Sand Emperor and enlightened being Tao Li had already rushed forward and bowed to Ning Fan. Rumble. Countless people were shocked. Only now did they realize who the white-robed young man was. True Lord Daoda, an ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian. Under the heavens, there was only one person who could make a dignified immortal emperor bow down to him. True Lord Zhao. How lucky they were! They just came to watch a chess battle on Shirshir Mountain, but they actually saw a legendary figure like Northern Heaven. Chapter 12:34. On the Stone Room Mountain, countless cultivators who believed in true Lord Daoda knelt down and welcomed Ning Fan's arrival with the most sincere attitude. In the eyes of the world, Ning Fan was the role model of the cultivation world. He was the moral standard of Northern Heaven, the last pure land at the end of the path to immortality, and an immortal with immeasurable virtue who had lived from ancient times until today. I, Zhao Jian, am the only one who does good every day. This slogan was not just a saying, but it was really put into practice. How many powerful beings in Northern Heaven had received Ning Fan's help? They regarded him as a god and worshipped him. Seeing the cheers getting louder and louder, how could Ning Fan still remember the anger he felt when he killed venerated Qi? All he felt was helplessness. He had never been a role model of morality, let alone an ancient great cultivator. However, the public opinion of Northern Heaven had praised him to the skies. These people really couldn't differentiate between good and evil. Just as he was feeling helpless, a person suddenly descended with an immense aura force of a first-level quasi-sage. This person was the person who asked Ning Fan to show mercy. He was an old man who was even fatter than venerated Qi. He walked in the starry sky. Wherever he passed by, he would leave footprints of the light of fortune. The cultivators on the Stone Room Mountain were originally cheering. As soon as they saw this person, their cheers were suppressed and gradually disappeared. Obviously, they were afraid of his arrival. A knowledgeable cultivator immediately identified the identity of this person. He was none other than venerated Qi's master, True Lord Fu Zhe. True Lord Fu Zhe stared at Ning Fan with monstrous fury in his eyes. He had clearly asked Ning Fan to show mercy and let venerated Qi go. However, Ning Fan turned a deaf ear to his words and killed venerated Qi. Nominally, he took venerated Qi as his disciple and nurtured him. In reality, he had great plans for this disciple. How could he not hate venerated Qi when he saw venerated Qi's death? If Ning Fan was really an ancient great cultivator, he might have to suffer this grievance in silence. However, was Ning Fan an ancient great cultivator? Ordinary people might not be able to see through Ning Fan, but a quasi-sage like him had already calculated everything. When he heard that an ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian, had appeared in the world, True Lord Fu Zhe had purposely prayed to the heavens and used his immeasurable fortune to make a deduction. The conclusion he got was that Ning Fan was not an ancient great cultivator at all, but a junior immortal king realm cultivator. The so-called ancient grand cultivator Zhao Jian was merely a misunderstanding of the world. Having his disciple killed by an immortal king junior, did he need to endure it? What's going on? True monarch Fu Zhe's spirit sense was filled with rage. He scanned Ning Fan with his spirit sense. Then he let out a soft exclamation of surprise. He had already divined Ning Fan's cultivation base a long time ago. In the past, Ning Fan should be an immortal king without a doubt. However, when he looked at Ning Fan's cultivation base now, he actually could not see through it. For some unknown reason, Ning Fan's current cultivation base was like two great circles overlapping with each other, giving True Lord Fuse a feeling that he was unfathomable. I can't see through it. He was a quasi-sage, but he couldn't see through the enemy's cultivation. Logically speaking, it was impossible for such a situation to occur even in the face of a true ancient great cultivator. If such a thing really did occur, there was only one explanation. The other party had a special method to conceal their cultivation. Insignificant skill. This kid is surely using some sort of technique, and that's why I'm unable to see through his cultivation. Isn't acting mysterious like this even more proof that this kid doesn't dare to expose his true cultivation in front of others? I can't be wrong. He's not an ancient great cultivator. He's just an ordinary immortal king. With that in mind, True Lord Fuse no longer cared about Ning Fan's strange cultivation base. He flicked his horsetail whisk and spoke to Ning Fan in a condescending manner. How dare you? I'm immortal Fu Zhe of Changla Mountain. The Qi Lu you killed is my disciple. You have to give me an explanation for killing the disciples of my Changla Mountain, don't you? If you're sensible, Follow me back to Changlu Mountain obediently to be punished. If you dare to disobey, don't blame me for making your primordial spirit dissipate instantly and dying in front of tens of thousands of immortals." As he spoke, True Lord Fuse stood with his hands clasped behind his back like a senior expert, looking down at Ning Fan like an ant. His tone was extremely arrogant, as if he could kill Ning Fan tens of times or even hundreds of times with just a raise of his hand. He was full of confidence. As soon as his words fell, the entire Stone Chamber Mountain immediately burst into an uproar. Currently, the entire Northern Heaven believed that Ning Fan was an ancient great cultivator. What about True Lord Fuse? He seems to be just a first-level quasi-sage, isn't he? True Lord Fuse, who was at the first-level quasi-sage realm, actually dared to speak rudely to Ning Fan, who was a great cultivator. No matter how one looked at it, True Lord Fuse seemed to be overestimating himself. Could it be that this True Lord Fuse had done too many bad things, that his brain had become stupid? Otherwise, why would he say such unwise words? Fellow Taoist sure has a big tone. However, I wonder if fellow Taoist has the ability to kill me in an instant. Ning Fan slowly stepped forward. True Lord Fuse's powerful quasi-sage realm aura force did not pose any threat to him. Instead, his aura force was increasing step by step, forcefully suppressing True Lord Fuse. True Lord Fuse's expression changed slightly. After all, it was not Ning Fan's first time facing a first-level quasi-sage realm expert. He had also killed a first-level quasi-sage realm expert before. This young man's aura force is really strong. True Lord Fuse was slightly surprised. However, that was all. Aura force was something intangible. It was not like it could not be faked. There were many divine abilities and secret techniques that could increase one's aura force. True Lord Fuse alone knew more than 100 of them. Ning Fan's aura force could not scare him. No matter how many illusions this young man made, it could not hide the fact that he was just an immortal King Realm Jr. Humph. It seems like you don't plan to leave with me. Since that's the case, I will teach you how terrifying it is to offend a quasi-sage realm expert. True Lord Fuse suddenly shouted, dispersing Ning Fan's aura force that was suppressing him. Then he raised his index finger and pointed it at the sky. Instantly, an ancient innate mirror with overwhelming profound chi appeared between heaven and earth. It was as tall as half the mountain. This was the sign of a battle. The Stone Room Mountain was about to become the battlefield of a quasi-sage realm battle. How could the chess battle continue? Be it the chess players or the spectators, all of them hurriedly retreated to the external endless sea. They wanted to stay as far away from the mountain as possible to avoid getting involved in the battle. Palace Lord Yuan Yao, Miss Xiaoman and the other ladies, please follow us and leave this place. It was Great Emperor Si Sand, enlightened being Tao Li and a large group of Zhao Jian's believers. They wanted to escort Bei Xiaoman and her daughter away from the Stone Room Mountain. Yuan Yao had lived for a long time, but it was her first time being greeted by an immortal emperor with cupped fists and being treated with respect. It was imaginable how shocked she was. What shocked her even more was the way the people present addressed Ning Fan. An ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian. She even doubted whether Ning Fan had the strength of an immortal king. Now, however, someone told her that Ning Fan was an ancient great cultivator. Seniors, are you mistaken? Ning Fan has only cultivated for a short period of time. When I first met him several hundred years ago, he was just a divine transformation realm cultivator. How could he be an ancient great cultivator that everyone is talking about? Yuan Yao still found it hard to believe. Bei Xiaoman and her sisters also found it hard to believe. It's him. Isn't he the crazy young master who counted mushrooms among the refugees of the Chu clan? He doesn't even have a clear mind. How could he be an ancient great cultivator? Bei Shi said. An ancient great cultivator? There must be some misunderstanding. Before he became an immortal, I had already fought against him. At that time he was pitifully weak. How could he be an ancient great cultivator? Bei Qinghan said. I dare not lie to seniors. I was the one who personally oversaw this young master's divine transformation realm cultivation. He can't be an ancient great cultivator, Bailey said. I saw him when he was at the vein opening realm. How could he be an ancient great cultivator? There must be some mistake. It must be like this, Bei Xiaoman said. Seeing that the mother and daughter of the Bei clan were getting more and more ridiculous, Sea Sand Emperor and Enlightened Being Tao Li exchanged glances with each other. They saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. It seems like Senior Zhao Jian has kept them in the dark. How could a dignified ancient great cultivator have such a low cultivation base? How could he be seen when he was at the vein opening realm? I swear with my integrity that Senior Zhao Jian is really an ancient great cultivator. As soon as Sea Sand Emperor's words fell, a bolt of lightning suddenly appeared between heaven and earth and struck him hard. As an immortal emperor, Sea Sand Emperor would not be hurt by ordinary lightning strikes. However, it was somewhat strange. He was swearing with his integrity and not lying. Why did the heavenly lightning strike him? Damn it, the heavenly Tao is really not prosperous. How dare it strike people randomly? I am also willing to swear with my integrity that Senior Zhao Jian's benevolence and righteousness are real. If there is any falsehood in his words, I will not have a good ending. Before Enlightened Being Tao Li could finish his last word, another bolt of heavenly lightning struck him with a loud rumble as if it was punishing him for making a false oath. Damn it! The heavenly Tao strikes me for no reason. The heavens are really blind. In today's world, the heavenly Tao is already in chaos and the Tao of the world is even more rampant. However, heroes are bound to emerge in troubled times. It's no wonder that Senior Zhao would choose to return to the mortal world at such a time to save the common people. This heart of helping the world really fascinates me. After being struck by lightning, Enlightened Being Tao Li admired Ning Fan even more. Forget it. If the madams don't believe me, you can use your own eyes to verify the truth. The battle between Senior Zhao and Old Thief Fu Zhe is just around the corner. As long as Senior gets rid of Old Thief Fu Zhe in a few moves, the madams will certainly believe in Senior's unrivaled cultivation base. Sea Sand Emperor and Enlightened Being Tao Li said in unison. Seniors, you've misunderstood. We are not his madams. Bei Xiaoman did not need to explain herself, but Yuan Yao and her other three daughters immediately lost their composure when they heard the two senior immortal emperors addressing them as madams. Each of them had their own thoughts and began to explain. How would Sea Sand Emperor and Enlightened Being Tao Li have the mood to chat with the madams? After the group of Zhao Jian's believers hurriedly escorted Yuan Yao and the others out of the vicinity of the Stone Room Mountain, they spread out their spirit sense to observe the battle between Ning Fan and True Lord Fu Zhe. Many of them were even moved to tears as they watched this earth-shattering battle between quasi-saints. What moved them was not the battle itself but Ning Fan's determination to get rid of the scourge for the northern heaven despite going against the law of the heavens. Revered Qi had harmed countless female cultivators of the northern heaven in his life. He could be considered as a small scourge of the northern heaven. True Lord Fu Zhe had schemed against countless powerful beings of the northern heaven in his life. He could be considered as a great scourge of the northern heaven. Seniors killing on the street certainly violated the law of the heavens and tarnished his reputation. However, Senior did not kill for his own selfish reasons. Instead, he wanted to uphold justice and get rid of the two scourges for the northern heaven. What an awe-inspiring righteousness that was! How upright and outspoken he was. Chivalrous people use martial arts to violate the law. However, the greatest chivalrous person is none other than killing the scourge for the heavens. No matter how high the cultivation level of the people in the world is, they are only worthy of being called cultivators. Only Senior can be called a true immortal hero. In the blink of an eye, the entire Stone Room Mountain was cleared. It had become the battlefield for Ning Fan and True Lord Fu Zhe. Ning Fan felt very ashamed. Initially, with his help, Xiao Man could have won first place in the second round. However, he insisted on killing in a fit of rage. As a result, he ruined the chess battle of the Stone Room Mountain. How many times had he killed someone without caring about the situation? Since things have come to this, I will apologize to Xiao Man after I kill True Lord Fu Zhe. What an arrogant kid. How dare you think about other things while facing a quasi-saint like me? Could it be that you really think that you are a great cultivator from the ancient times? Ha! Ridiculous. Extremely ridiculous. Urgent as the command, mirror of truth, quickly reveal yourself. Show me all of his disguises and let him reveal his true self in front of the world. As true Lord Fuzhe gave his order, the bronze mirror that was as tall as half a mountain immediately shone with dazzling light of fortune. It was a low-grade innate magic treasure. Even though it was just a low-grade innate magic treasure, it had an extremely sinister ability which was to reflect the true appearance of the enemy. Through attacking the true reflection of the enemy in the mirror, it would cause great damage to the enemy. If it is a quasi-saint of the northern heaven who was familiar with true Lord Fuzhe's background, he certainly would not be willing to be reflected by this mirror and would avoid it. However, Ning Fan did not know the background of this mirror. Thus, he was helplessly reflected by it. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's true image appeared in the mirror. Unlike ordinary people who could only show one type of reflection in the mirror, Ning Fan could actually show two types of reflection. The first reflection was a golden deity who was stepping on the corpses of many quasi-saints and immortal emperors. As for the corpses of those who were weaker, they had already turned into mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It was enough to show how many living beings this golden deity had killed in his life. The second reflection was just a young devil cultivator at the vein-opening realm. However, this young man was even scarier. He was stepping on the heads of more than 10 quasi-saints. Behind him, there was an entire mid-grade immortal country that had turned into a river of blood. Strange. Why does this young man have two types of true reflections? Moreover, each of them is more ridiculous than the previous one. True Lord Fuzhe was extremely displeased. It was because his mirror of truth had actually made a rare mistake. How could this young man possess two types of true reflections? How could he kill so many quasi-saint immortal emperors? It was even more impossible for him to kill more than 10 quasi-saints with his vein-opening realm devil body, because there were no saints in the era of Dharma ending at all. Moreover, Ning Fan was not an ancient cultivator. Therefore, he was sure that all of these true reflections were wrong. None of them could be trusted. Fine. Since the mirror has made a mistake, I won't use it to attack this young man. Let's change to another treasure. The mournful death puppets, show yourselves now. True Lord Fuzhe kept his treasure mirror and took out two puppets with strange appearances. Then he tossed them into the air. The puppets grew in the wind and turned into two clay puppets that were filled with death chi. Both of them had the appearance of a child. As soon as they returned to their original forms, they immediately clapped their hands and sang an eerie nursery rhyme. These nursery rhymes were actually curses that could be used to curse the enemy to death. Otherwise, why would true Lord Fuzhe be known as the Scourge of the Northern Heaven? Among the techniques that he used, there was not a single righteous one. All of them were evil methods that were used to harm people. Moreover, evil methods were usually the hardest to guard against, and they were the easiest to injure. Curse technique, green light flashed across Ning Fan's eyes. He saw through the background of the two mournful death puppets. These two puppets were just two puppets with weak strength. However, due to the fact that they were cursed, they possessed great power and should not be underestimated. He could even tell that these puppets had a trace of karmic connection with the ancestral emperor of the Northern Heaven, Mournful Death Great Emperor. There seemed to be other karmic connections between these puppets as well. However, they had long been buried in the river of samsara and could no longer be seen clearly. These puppets should have once belonged to Mournful Death Great Emperor. However, after his death, they had passed through many hands and ended up in the hands of true Lord Fuzhe. Ning Fan was not afraid of curses. The so-called curse was actually a type of karmic attack. As long as he could isolate the karmic connection, he would not be harmed at all. If he was cursed by someone whose cultivation base was higher than his, it would not be easy for him to deal with it. However, true Lord Fuzhe was just a quasi-saint realm expert with 12,000 tribulation magic power. It would be as difficult as ascending to heaven for a quasi-saint realm expert like him to curse Ning Fan. Originally, Ning Fan had full confidence that he would not be affected by the mournful death puppets. However, as soon as the mournful death puppets sang the nursery rhyme, he could not help but be affected. It was not because the two puppets' curses were powerful. It was because the nursery rhyme that the two puppets sang was too unimaginable. Ning Fan could not help but want to listen to it. You clap once and I clap once. Butterflies fly 90,000 li away. You clap two and I clap two. Girls cut their pigtails in front of Buddha. You clap three and I clap three. Gong Gong knocks down Mount Buzhou. You clap four and I clap four. Duanhua's soul breaks in Skunda Temple. You clap five and I clap five. Five spirits chessboard devil suppressing bone. You clap six and I clap six. Sword ancestor loses his life in proud coming cave. You clap seven and I clap seven. The divine tree awakens and Saint Defire is alarmed. You clap eight and I clap eight. When the flower blooms, there will be no more flowers. You clap nine and I clap nine. When the defying fan is enraged, the heavens decays. You clap 10 and I clap 10. Blue sky and yellow springs don't know each other. As the nursery rhyme entered his ears, Ning Fan's eyes became blank. After that, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His primordial spirit was injured by the curse. It was not because the curse was powerful. It was the choice he made himself. If he wanted to listen to the entire nursery rhyme, he would have to bear the curse and pay the price. It was just a small price. Ning Fan did not care about it at all. With his immense blood and qi, the injury he suffered just now was just like losing a hair from 9 bulls. It was insignificant. However, his heart could no longer remain calm the moment the nursery rhyme resounded. Although he could not understand every single one of the nursery rhymes, he was extremely concerned about a few of them. The butterfly flies 90,000 li. Could it be that the butterfly is referring to him? Or perhaps it is referring to something else. The sword ancestor lost his life in Proud Coming Cave. He did not know where Proud Coming Cave was, but he could understand the 2 words sword ancestor. He also understood the meaning of the word lost his life. When Ni Fan is enraged, the heavens decays. It was also not the first time he heard the name Ni Fan. Blue sky and yellow springs don't know each other. The moment he heard this sentence, another voice appeared in Ning Fan's mind for some reason. I can't find you. Why can't I find you no matter where I go? I've searched all the flowers in the mortal world. Every single one of them looks like you, but none of them are you. Ning Fan felt a sense of sorrow that came from the vicissitudes of life. Moreover, he felt a bone-piercing pain. Seeing Ning Fan coughing out blood, True Lord Fu Zhe's face instantly revealed a look of disdain. He was even more convinced that Ning Fan was just an immortal King Realm Jr. If Ning Fan is really an ancient great cultivator, how could he be injured by such insignificant tricks? He's really too weak. Mourn death puppets, increase the curse and eliminate this immortal King Realm ant for me. What's going on? Mourn for the dead puppet, it is urgent as the law commands, quickly obey this monarch's command. Impossible? The mourn death puppets actually failed. This is the Black Moon. Under True Lord Fu Zhe's incredulous gaze, Ning Fan just waved his finger and the 2 puppets lost control and flew towards Ning Fan. At the same time, the symbol of the Black Moon appeared on the heads of the 2 puppets. That was the sign that they were hit by the ancestral emperor's mourn death technique. The mourn death technique was unsolvable in the world. If you see the Black Moon, you will be destroyed. This kind of method could only be used to deal with puppets that were comparatively weaker. Since these 2 puppets weren't high-level puppets, it was easily effective and could be directly captured. Who exactly are you? Why do you know the ancestral emperor's mourn death technique? True Lord Fu Zhe was shocked and enraged. Why do I need to answer you? Who do you think you are? Ning Fan casually kept the 2 puppets into his storage pouch. When he looked at True Lord Fu Zhe again, it was as if he was looking at a dead man. His eyes were filled with unprecedented killing intent. However, that killing intent was not really because of True Lord Fu Zhe. Instead, it was because of that strange nursery rhyme. It could only be said that true Lord Fuzhe was unlucky to have bumped into Ning Fan's most unpleasant moment. That nursery rhyme seemed to be referring to something, but Ning Fan could not understand it at all. Even though he could not understand it, his heart was filled with sadness and anger along with the nursery rhyme. When he was sad, he wished that he could destroy his own Tao. When he was angry, he wished that he could overturn the heavens and trample on everything. How dare you insult me? True Lord Fuzhe was enraged. He, a dignified quasi-sage realm expert, was actually insulted by Ning Fan. How could he still have his face? He wanted to kill Ning Fan to vent his anger. Thus, he raised his hand and summoned 4 low-grade innate black lotuses. He did not know what kind of treasure these black lotuses were. When the 4 lotuses merged into one, their aura force was actually not any weaker than a mid-grade innate magic treasure. However, they were not real mid-grade magic treasures after all. Ning Fan ignored the 4 black lotuses. He patted his storage pouch and took out the true martial broken sword that was in the form of a turtle and a snake. However, with a flash of cold light, the 4 black lotuses were actually chopped into powder in a single move. The destructive power of the true martial broken sword was just too ferocious. It was a supreme treasure that could fight against high-grade innate magic treasures. It was not something that an ordinary quasi-sage realm expert could possess. It's actually a high-grade innate sword. True Lord Fuzhe's eyes flashed with fear for a moment, but it was immediately filled with greed. The destructive power of this sword was certainly terrifying, but it also depended on who was using it. If a quasi-sage realm expert of the same level as him was using this sword, no, even if it was just a half-saint realm expert using this sword, true Lord Fuzhe would not dare to face it head-on. Otherwise, he would definitely suffer a great loss. However, the person who used this sword was just a junior Immortal King realm expert. He was 10,000% sure that Ning Fan was just at the Immortal King realm. Hence, no matter how much magic power Ning Fan had, it was not enough to make him feel afraid. However, once he kills Ning Fan, this treasure, which was comparable to high-grade innate magic treasures, would belong to him. In the future, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the northern heaven. I really didn't expect it. I really didn't expect that a mere immortal king like you could actually force me to reveal my eternal true body. Even if you die here today, you can be proud of yourself. True body of Fuzhe appear. True Lord Fuzhe revealed his true body and turned into a fat giant that was 100 zhang tall. His chi surged to the 1,000 tribulation realm. The giant had a long beard. He wore an official hat on his head and a robe that was embroidered with a python and a jade belt. He held a jade scepter in his left hand and a long scroll in his right hand. The 4 words "Heavenly Official's Blessing" were written on the scroll. Be it the jade scepter or the long scroll, both of them were actually mid-grade innate magic treasures. They were really powerful. Little ant, what qualifications do you have to fight against me? I have the God of Fortune scepter, which allows me to absorb all the blessings in the world to attack you. As for defense, I have the Heavenly Official's long scroll. As long as the blessings are endless, I can be immortal and I won't even be affected by the heavenly tribulation. The blessings that I have collected in my life are endless. Even a second-level quasi-sage realm cultivator can't kill me. How dare you provoke me? You really deserve to die. True Lord Fuzhe raised his hand and struck the God of Fortune scepter. All of a sudden, the blessings in the world seemed to be attracted to the scepter. They turned into countless giant shadows of the scepter and fell on him. If you are a blessing, then I am a curse. Ning Fan's devil eyes flashed. Monstrous baleful chi was released from his body. He actually managed to block the attack of true Lord Fuzhe's endless blessings with just his baleful chi. What kind of baleful chi was that? He had killed immortal emperors and quasi-sages before. Moreover, he had killed more than one person. Could this bastard be a devil lord who walked out from the Devil Conferral Summit? Otherwise, how could he possibly have such terrifying baleful chi? True Lord Fuzhe's God of Fortune scepter could not hurt Ning Fan at all. He cultivated the Tao of Fortune. In order to nurture his blessings, he must avoid weapons, disasters, devils, and the mortal world. Once he is tainted by filth, he would damage his own blessings. Coincidentally, a devil lord like Ning Fan was his greatest nemesis. Even though Ning Fan's cultivation base was not as strong as him, he could still defeat him with his restraint. Now, however, not only was Ning Fan's magic power far superior to his, but his magic treasures were also far superior. If Ning Fan's devil sense was also able to restrain his blessings, killing true Lord Fuzhe today would definitely not be any harder than killing a half-step saint. 1 sword, 10 swords, 100 swords. Ning Fan repeatedly summoned the broken true martial sword. Even though true Lord Fuzhe had endless blessings, he could only withstand the attacks of the broken sword. He barely managed to defend himself with the long scroll of the heavenly official. He did not have the time to counterattack at all. Every time he blocked an attack from the broken sword, the ink characters on the long scroll would become a little dimmer. After 100 swords, the ink characters on the long scroll had completely disappeared. True Lord Fuzhe no longer had any means to block Ning Fan's attacks. All he could do was to directly neutralize Ning Fan's attacks with his endless blessings. In this way, every time Ning Fan attacked, true Lord Fuzhe's blessings would be cut off by a few feet. His blessings were getting lesser and lesser. After another few hundred swords, Ning Fan finally destroyed all of true Lord Fuzhe's blessings. The broken sword of the true martial sword fell from the sky. Not good. At this moment, true Lord Fuzhe was already scared out of his wits by Ning Fan. How could he still have the courage to fight Ning Fan? He wanted to run away, but Ning Fan directly fixed him on the spot with a finger-pointing heavenly technique. After that, he struck the broken sword of the true martial sword and one of his arms was cut off. This knave actually knows the Eastern Heaven ancestral technique. He actually obtained the ancestral techniques of 2 heavens at the same time. True Lord Fuzhe's expression was terrifyingly ugly. Since Ning Fan knew the heaven sealing technique, it was almost impossible for him to escape from this place without Ning Fan's permission. What was worse was that he discovered to his horror that his arm that was cut off by Ning Fan could not be reconstructed. It was as if he had lost it forever. The wound that could not be healed was just like the eternal crack in the starry sky that Ning Fan created earlier. The heavenly Tao has wronged me. The heavenly Tao has wronged me. Why did you tell me that this young man is just an immortal King Realm Jr.? Perhaps he really has the cultivation base of an immortal King Realm, but he is much scarier than many second-level quasi-saints. Fellow Taoist, please calm down. No, I am willing to compensate you for all the offenses I have committed today. Please be magnanimous and spare me this time. True Lord Fuzhe finally gave in. However, Ning Fan did not care about him at all. His creed in life was to eliminate all his enemies once and for all. Once he lets a scourge like true Lord Fuzhe go, it would be the same as letting a tiger return to the mountain. The safest way was to eliminate the root of the problem. Since today's matter had already gotten out of hand, he might as well go all out and establish his devil might in the Lost World Palace for once. He wanted to make everyone in the Lost World Palace not dare to look down on Yuan Yao and Xiao Man anymore. He wanted to make everyone who had schemed against Yuan Yao and Xiao Man pay the price. 5 yin-yang swords, go. Ning Fan slashed the broken true martial sword again. However, this time, he did not simply release the power of his magic treasure. Instead, he used the ultimate technique from ancient chaos inheritance. Different from before, the current him truly had the channel to cultivate the yin and yang qi. Thus, the 5 yin-yang swords that he used seemed to have been infused with the power of 2 lifetimes. Its power was far greater than before. Heavenly sword severing luck. Earth sword severing momentum. Human sword severing life. Divine sword severing Tao. Ghost sword severing thought. The 5 yin-yang swords could cut through anything. True Lord Fuzhe used all his defenses. However, all of them were useless in front of the 5 yin-yang swords. All the fat on his body was cut off by the 5 yin-yang swords, leaving only his skeleton. His cultivation had been reduced by the 5 swords of yin and yang. His cultivation level had dropped from the sage to be to the vein opening realm, and finally to immortal. His sea of consciousness was shattered by the 5 yin-yang swords. His will was shattered and his Tao sense was scattered everywhere. The death of a human was like the extinguishing of a lamp. The reincarnation would be blown away and reignited. The death of an immortal was like the scattering of his Tao sense. The death of an immortal was actually not a true death. It was just the dissipation of his Tao sense. However, at this moment, Ning Fan's 5 yin-yang swords actually wanted to kill another level of true Lord Fu Zhe on the basis of the dissipation of his Tao sense. In this way, it would truly create the third step of death, the destruction of the Tao. It was not the direct dissipation of the Tao sense. Instead, after the Tao sense was extinguished, it would return to where it came from. In this way, the reincarnation cycle of this person would start anew. Even if he had the chance to be reincarnated again, he would not be able to reincarnate along the path of the Great Circle to this moment. Detestable. The fuse of a nobleman should be killed in 5 lifetimes. If it wasn't because of your powerful means that prevented my fortune from being reborn, I would certainly be able to obtain 5 chances to be reborn. True monarch Fukuzawa breathed his last breath with endless regret. If the person he encountered was not Ning Fan, he would still have 5 lives even if he was killed by a second-step true lord. However, the person he encountered was Ning Fan. What he suffered was the death of a third-step true lord. Killing 5 lifetimes was useless. Even though Ning Fan and true Lord Fu Zhe only managed to kill him after exchanging more than 1,000 sword strikes, one should know that Ning Fan's speed was extremely fast. Even though the broken true martial sword consumed a lot of magic power and was not easy to control, Ning Fan had a high level of rapport with it. It was still very easy for him to slash 10 to 20 times in one breath. This meant that Ning Fan only used less than 100 breaths to kill true Lord Fu Zhe from the moment he made his first slash. 100 breaths. In the true sense, he killed a quasi-sage realm expert, preventing him from escaping or being reborn. How powerful was that? The only pity was that Ning Fan did not refine true Lord Fu Zhe into a mid-grade gourd blood spirit in order to truly kill him instead of giving him a chance to escape when he was at the 5th slash. He did not even use true Lord Fu Zhe to refine the 10,000 spirit blood. Instead, he directly slashed true Lord Fu Zhe into nothingness, leaving nothing behind. Since he did not have enough living sacrifices, he did not even try to refine an undying ghost soldier. Fortunately, he obtained true Lord Fu Zhe's storage pouch which was filled with sinister treasures. Thus, he did not come out empty-handed. He won. Senior Zhao has gotten rid of a great threat to our eastern heaven. He killed old thief Fu Zhe, killing a quasi-sage realm expert in 100 breaths. Moreover, old thief Fu Zhe did not even have the time to use the killing 5 lifetimes that he relied on to save his life. This is a true death. Senior's means are incredible. Is this the means of an ancient great cultivator? That treasured sword is really powerful. It is comparable to a high-grade innate magic treasure. Sure enough, only a peak existence like Senior is worthy of using such a precious treasure. On the surface of the sea near the Stone Room Mountain, exclamations could be heard from all directions. Countless immortal cultivators were affected by the great battle between quasi-saints that could easily crush their stomachs. Some of Zhao Jian's followers even flocked to Ning Fan's side and asked him questions excitedly. Senior, please tell us what exactly is your motive for killing true Lord Fu Zhe and his disciple? Ning Fan decided to answer this question truthfully. For a moment of personal vengeance. That's right. He killed venerated Chess because of his personal vengeance. Then, he killed true Lord Fu Zhe to vent his anger and eliminate the root of the problem. The reason he used to kill someone was definitely not considered as lofty and noble. Ning Fan thought to himself. This time, he had already killed someone to vent his anger in front of everyone. He shouldn't be regarded as a moral role model anymore, right? However, he was wrong. When a person worships you as an idol, even if you are just defecating in the fields, others will still think that you are doing a good deed and fertilizing others. Senior really has a noble character and unquestionable integrity. You must be unwilling to accept the good reputation of punishing evil and promoting good, so you purposely made up a reason. Senior is kind-hearted, righteous, and resolute. You hate evil as if it's your mortal enemy. However, you are also courageous and meticulous. You have a firm will and are as noble as the clouds. How many virtuous people have existed since the ancient times? You are the best in the entire Quanjin sect. Senior's voice and face are long gone. Your name will be immortalized for 100 generations. Your spirit will never die and your demeanor will remain forever. Your soul will ride on a crane and your righteousness will come along with the wind. Good conduct and virtue will last for 1,000 years and your noble character will last for 10,000 years. Bastard! Who was the one who praised Senior with the elegiac couplet just now? Come out now. Let's see if I can't cut you to death. Looking at the immortal cultivators of the northern heaven who were quarreling with each other and praising him sincerely, Ning Fan felt extremely awkward. Does he really have to continue being a true lord of virtue and virtue? Even killing someone is not enough to change the ridiculous opinion others have of him? If Old Devil knows that not only did he fail to promote the evil name of the Black Devil sect, but he has also become the #1 moral role model of the Northern Heaven, I'm afraid he will probably give him a good scolding. Chapter 12:35. The death of a quasi-saint was no trivial matter, let alone a person with great fortune like true Lord Fuzhe. In this battle, Ning Fan destroyed the immeasurable fortune that true Lord Fuzhe had painstakingly cultivated for his entire life. After the battle, the vast fortune scattered all over heaven and earth. Without a master to rely on, it had no choice but to turn into golden light that filled the sky, drifting everywhere. Unfortunately, these fortune blended with the baleful chi of the fallen quasi-saint. Among the golden light spots, there was a blood-red light surrounding them. In that case, how would ordinary cultivators dare to absorb and refine these fortune? Thus, they simply ignored it. Countless cultivators rushed back to the Stone Room Mountain, shouting, "True Lord Daoda is invincible, and long live Senior Zhao." They were all praising Ning Fan's action of killing true Lord Fuzhe and his disciple. Ning Fan was too lazy to care about those fanatical cheers. Compared to spreading his reputation far and wide, he was more interested in the boundless fortune. With his devil cultivation base, why would he be afraid of some quasi-saint baleful chi? Instead of letting these fortune dissipate completely, he might as well devour these fortune for his own use. What is fortune? The concept of fortune seemed very close to luck, but it was actually very different. Those with good luck could obtain great opportunities frequently. For example, when someone suddenly picked up 10 billion Dao crystals while walking on the road, it was luck. When he turned around, he would encounter bandits who killed him and robbed him of his treasures. It was poor luck and he would not be able to enjoy these windfalls. Those with good luck, on the other hand, were different. Those with good luck could have good luck, but those with bad luck could also have good luck. The quality of one's luck was enough to affect one's gains and losses. As for something like fortune, it had nothing to do with gains and losses most of the time. There was an ancient saying that misfortune could be a blessing in disguise. Luck could pave a path for you while fortune could allow you to have a good end at the end of the path. The two of them were actually complementary. When combined, they formed a perfect circle. This circle was called good beginning, good end. Of course, it did not mean that you would definitely have a good end if you had good luck. It just meant that you would have more chances to have a good end compared to ordinary people. If you think that you have immeasurable fortune and insist on provoking karma that you should not provoke, damaging your fortune, you would still die the way you deserve. Because of this, since ancient times, the more blessed a person was, the more they liked to seek good fortune and avoid calamity, and to be kind to others. People like true Lord Fuzua, who was blessed and loved to cause trouble, were rare exceptions, and deserved to die. Fate is like an umbrella. It can block the wind and rain, but it might not be able to block all the wind and rain. If I insist on walking in the rain and defy the heavens, my clothes will still be wet. Fortune is different. Fortune is like fire. It's a fire that can dry the moisture on my body. Even if I accidentally get wet in the rain, as long as the fire is warm enough, it can still dry the rain. Ning Fan muttered to himself. Seeing that no one was willing to absorb the fortune that filled the sky, he simply sat down with his legs crossed and began to absorb the fortune as if there was no one else around him. Of course, the quasi-sage baleful qi mixed in the blessing was also sucked away without leaving a trace. Seeing Ning Fan devouring the baleful qi of a quasi-saint realm expert without panting or flushing, the cultivators of the northern heaven were shocked once again. Not only were they shocked by Ning Fan's profound cultivation base, but they were also shocked by his noble character. In the northern heaven, there might be other people who could kill true monarch Fu Zhe. However, I'm afraid it's hard to find a second person who dares to directly devour the baleful qi of a quasi-sage realm expert like Senior Zhao. Baleful qi damages one's Dao heart and taints one's luck and fortune. Even if those second-level quasi-sages were lucky enough to kill true monarch Fu Zhe, they would probably need to cultivate diligently for thousands of years before they could carefully erase the baleful qi that tainted their bodies. Even those ancient great devils at the peak devil conferral realm who cultivate by relying on baleful qi would probably not dare to face baleful qi directly. Since Senior Zhao is able to do this, it's not an exaggeration to say that he has extraordinary means. That was the conclusion that the cultivators who were slightly more rational came to. The baleful qi in the place where a quasi-sage realm expert died will remain for at least 1,000 years. If no one absorbs the baleful qi that fills the sky, the primordial force of heaven and earth in the sea of time will probably be tainted for 1,000 years. During that period of time, how would the cultivators of the Lost World Palace dare to cultivate? In order to return the clear sky to the sea of time, Senior Zhao did not hesitate to be tainted by the mortal world. He sacrificed his body to nurture baleful qi and absorbed the baleful qi that fills the sky. What a noble sentiment! It's too dazzling. The brilliance of Senior Zhao's personality is really too dazzling. Those were the words of Zhao Jian's followers who had been brainwashed. All of you, that's enough. Ning Fan really could not be bothered to listen to the flattering voices around him anymore. Thus, he simply blocked most of the noises from the outside world and shut his spirit sense. A cultivator's spirit sense would either be stored inside his body or stored outside his body. At this moment, Ning Fan withdrew all of his spirit sense that he had spread to the outside world. There were advantages and disadvantages to it. The advantage was that he successfully blocked the flattering voices of the outside world. The disadvantage was that the voice of the Ant Lord in the depths of his mind had instantly become countless times louder. It was so loud that Ning Fan could no longer ignore it. That's right. Ning Fan had been blocking his inner sense most of the time to prevent himself from hearing the quarrel between the Ant Lord and Little Dust Inji. However, this time, compared to listening to their flattery, he would rather listen to the boring quarrel between the two women. The Ant Lord said, "I have to remind you for the 10,752 time that my master, Ancestor Hong Jun, is the strongest cultivator in the world." Little Dust Inji said, "I have to deny your opinion for the 10,753 time. Enlighten me, Elder Brother Tyr is the strongest cultivator in the world." Little Cat Black Devil said, "I have to deny your opinion for the 566th time. I don't know any Hong Jun or Elder Brother Tyr. In my heart, my master, Ning Fan, is the strongest cultivator in the world. Why is there another voice arguing in my sea of consciousness? It's actually Little Cat Black Devil's voice." Ning Fan was speechless. Since he had been blocking his inner sense most of the time, he did not know when Black Devil had also joined the boring quarrel between the Ant Lord and Inji. Even though the Black Devil race was staying in the profound Yin world, they could directly talk to Ning Fan in his sea of consciousness through the mental connection. The profound Yin world was inside Ning Fan's body in the first place, and there was a connection between them. Therefore, it was not difficult for Black Devil to do this. Moreover, it was something that Ning Fan had tacitly agreed to. In the past, when Ning Fan was still weak, he might encounter a powerful enemy at any time and needed Black Devil's help. Thus, it was very necessary for him to maintain a certain degree of mental connection with Black Devil. However, he did not expect that one day, Black Devil would make the decision to chat with the Ant Lord and Inji in Ning Fan's sea of consciousness through this mental connection. Ning Fan's Sea of Consciousness had actually become the chat room of 3 women. Thinking about it, it was really funny. Be quiet for a while. I'm absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth. Your voices are too noisy and it's affecting my cultivation. Ning Fan said with displeasure. I'm sorry, Master. Black Devil has disturbed Master's cultivation. I deserve 1,000 deaths. Master, please punish me. Black Devil blamed himself endlessly and apologized with a serious expression. There's no need to punish me. You just need to be quiet for a while. Ning Fan sighed. Little Kitty Air was good in every aspect, but she was just too rigid and had too much of a sense of hierarchy. Black Devil will obey Master's order without any hesitation. The first woman became quiet obediently. I'm sorry, Master. Inji will shut up right now. After Master is done with your cultivation, you can quarrel with that stinky ant. Even though the faceless giant who enlightened her with a drop of tear was the most important person in Inji's heart, she still treated Ning Fan as her master just like Black Devil. Thus, she was still very obedient to Ning Fan's orders. Thus, the second woman also became quiet obediently. Humph! I'm a dignified saint. Why should I listen to your orders? If you ask me to be quiet, I will be quiet. Then, won't I become your slave just like that gray scum in Jioli? Of course, if you really want to be quiet for a while, I can be merciful and grant you a moment of peace. However, it's definitely not because I'm afraid of you. It's just because I pity you that it's not easy for an ant like you to cultivate. That's why I don't want to disturb you. The Ant Lord harumphed arrogantly. She was really a little fearful of Ning Fan's fiend god aura force. Thus, she purposely said a lot of words in an attempt to conceal the fear in her heart. Unfortunately, her mind was connected to Ning Fan's. How could she hide her little thoughts from Ning Fan? A dignified saint actually has fear and respect for me. Ning Fan was greatly astonished. Previously, when he cultivated the devil spirit, he could faintly feel that the Ant Lord's attitude towards him had become much more respectful. This time, he was really convinced that the Ant Lord was truly fearful of him. Little Ant Ning, didn't you just say that you're absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth? The Ant Lord suddenly asked. She was a little concerned about the fact that Ning Fan was absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth. Our minds are connected. How can you not know whether I'm absorbing the fortune of heaven and earth or not? Why do you have to ask about it? Ning Fan replied. Wasn't I busy quarreling with you just now? Can I forget about you? All right. Let me search through your memories and see what you've done just now. You've actually killed another quasi-saint realm expert. Moreover, the person you killed was someone with great fortune. It's a pity that I can't judge the quality of the fortune that he scattered to heaven and earth through your blurry memories. However, it's not hard to imagine what level of fortune the cultivators of the illusory world can cultivate. At most, it's just some mediocre fortune. This kind of fortune isn't worth mentioning. Otherwise, I can teach you the method to condense the karma umbrella. Karma umbrella? Ning Fan and the Ant Lord's minds were connected. He only needed to flip through the Ant Lord's current thoughts to understand what the karma umbrella was. The so-called karma umbrella was actually the final form of the grand umbrella of luck. The 9-colored immortal luck would condense into an umbrella. 9 was the limit of the number. After the 9-colored, there wouldn't be 10 colors. Instead, the grand umbrella of luck would evolve into the karma umbrella. Normally, only sages could condense the karma umbrella. However, there were also some people who could condense the karma umbrella at the second step and use it to resist the immeasurable tribulations to become a sage realm expert. As a sage realm expert, the Ant Lord certainly knew the method to condense the karma umbrella in advance. The karma umbrella could even resist the immeasurable tribulations of becoming a sage realm expert. From this, one could tell how strong its defense was. It was Ning Fan's first time hearing about this item. If he could successfully condense this item, it would be a wonderful thing. The problem was that he did not have a good relationship with the Ant Lord. Even though the Ant Lord respected him, it was impossible for her to take the initiative to express her goodwill and help him condense the karma umbrella. The Ant Lord certainly had her own purpose. Either she was doing this with the intention of harming him, or she was also doing this to benefit herself. You and I are connected. I won't hide this from you. Helping you condense the karma umbrella is indeed very beneficial to me. If I, a Sage Realm expert, help others to achieve merit, I can extract a certain amount of the merit power from the other party and turn it into my own. If you can condense the karma umbrella with my help, I can at least take a third of the merit power from your umbrella and inject it into my own umbrella. This is a win-win situation. Of course, I don't mind helping you. Unfortunately, the prerequisite of the secret technique I know about the karma umbrella is to have a relatively high quality and quantity of good fortune. When I heard you talking about absorbing the good fortune of heaven and earth, I thought of the karma umbrella. Unfortunately, the Ant Lord felt that it was a pity. She wanted to help Ning Fan condense the karma umbrella and get a share of the good fortune from it. Unfortunately, the world Ning Fan was in was the illusory dream world. How could it be so easy to find good fortune that was above average to condense the karma umbrella? Even though she respected Ning Fan, she still felt disgusted with him. If she could extract some of the merit power from Ning Fan's umbrella, it would be the same as taking advantage of him. She could not kill Ning Fan and she did not dare to insult him. Now, she could only find an opportunity to take advantage of him to comfort herself. I see. Ning Fan, on the other hand, did not mind being taken advantage of by the Ant Lord. If the Ant Lord could really help him condense the karma umbrella, even if the Ant Lord would take a share of the good fortune, he would still be the one who would benefit the most. He shared the same thoughts as the Ant Lord. Thus, he could see the secret technique that the Ant Lord was thinking about. It was the karma umbrella secret technique that was passed down from generation to generation in the Hongjun sacred sect. According to rumors, before the first Hongjun gained his human form, he was once severely injured by someone in the ancient world. His mountain foundation was broken by that person. After that, he was even severely injured by the world-extinguishing star stream. Due to the bone umbrella that was given to him by his benefactor, he managed to escape from that disaster. When the first Hongjun gained his human form and wanted to look for his benefactor again, he could no longer find her in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. While feeling sad, the first Hongjun created the karma umbrella secret technique. It was to help his descendants to reduce the difficulty of attaining the Sage Ascension realm. At the same time, he also hoped that his descendants could meet their benefactor again and use the umbrella to show their sincerity when they walk through the endless samsara with the umbrella. In the Hongjun sacred sect, the sages of virtue who had already attained the Sage Ascension realm could lend the good fortune power of their karma umbrella to second-step cultivators through a secret technique. If the other party could really condense the karma umbrella with his help, 1/3 of the power of the other party's karma umbrella would be forcibly repaid to the user. Of course, if the other party's qualifications were too poor or the materials were insufficient, resulting in the failure of condensing the umbrella, the person who loaned the good fortune power would lose everything and could only lose the good fortune power of the umbrella in vain. In the Hunkin sacred sect, the person who held the sea-defying sword could be regarded as a superior disciple. In the Hongjun sacred sect, the person who held the Kunlun sword could also be regarded as a superior disciple. In the Hunkin main sea, the Hongjun main mountain, the Hunkin family had entered the Tao from the sea. Correspondingly, the Hongjun family had entered the Tao from the mountain. The Kunlun sword was the Tao weapon passed down by the second Hongjun family. According to legend, the second Hongjun family had swallowed the Kunlun mountain to enter the Tao. But in fact, within the Hongjun sacred sect, there was another weapon that could be used as a symbol of identity, and it represented a higher status than the Kunlun sword. That was the special karma umbrella passed down by the first Hongjun family, the Buzhou umbrella. The person who held the Buzhou umbrella could sit 10 steps away from the Hongjun family's ancestral master and listen to his lecture. Their status was equivalent to the first-generation disciples of the sect, the same as the primordial beginning saint and the heavenly reaching saint. One should know that the closer one sat to the fourth step Saint Defier's lecture, the greater the benefits one would receive. Listening to a lecture 10 steps away from them was enough to help those saints who were stuck in a bottleneck break through their cultivation base on the spot and advance to the next era of samsara. As for the identity of the first-generation disciple of the Hongjun family, it was even more prestigious than ordinary saints. Buzhou umbrella? This isn't the first time I've heard of the word Buzhou. Is it a coincidence? The first time he heard of the word Buzhou was when he heard the name of the Thunder Emperor Buzhou Hongyi. The second time he heard of the word Buzhou was when he was forging the sea-defying sword. He obtained a lot of blueprints of the ancient Dao weapons from Old Wu. One of them mentioned the word Buzhou. The Mountain Sea Axe, the barbarian weapon. This axe can be ranked as one of the 66 grade weapons of the sacred sect. However, it lacks the ancient country's wind crystal, the earth material, the Buzhou mountain ridge, and the earth giant's tooth. I've spent my entire life trying to forge it. It's a pity. The third time he heard of the word Buzhou was when he obtained a small stone by chance. After talking to it, he found out that the material of the stone was actually the Buzhou mountain ridge. It was an extremely high-grade material for refining weapons. As a result, Ning Fan incorporated this small piece of the Buzhou mountain ridge into the sea-defying sword, causing the structure of the sword to completely deviate from the original blueprint. Its grade was also greatly improved. The fourth time he heard of the word Buzhou was in that strange nursery rhyme. You clap 3, I clap 3, gong gong knocks down the Buzhou mountain. Unknowingly, Ning Fan seemed to have a great karma which coincided with the word Buzhou. When he was still weak, he could not sense the karma within it. Now, however, the higher his cultivation base was, the more he could sense the magnitude of the karma within it. Buzhou umbrella. When he muttered the name of the umbrella again, Ning Fan actually felt a hint of sadness and unfamiliarity for some unknown reason. That feeling of unfamiliarity was the discomfort caused by the wrong time and space of samsara. That kind of sadness and unfamiliarity was like rootless water that came out of nowhere. Ning Fan's thoughts actually started from the Buzhou umbrella, and he thought of a sentence that had nothing to do with it. It was a sentence that he could not hear clearly when he was standing in front of the decaying green lotus of the sword ancestor. Now, however, he actually heard it clearly and recalled that sentence. Have I poured rain on your heart? It's a pity that I can't hold an umbrella for you this time. Did she hold the umbrella for me in one of my reincarnations? If the experience of holding the umbrella is not in the past, then it is in the future. Ning Fan seemed to have understood something, but he still felt like he had not realized it. Without any reason, he actually felt a sense of urgency. He wanted to quickly condense the specially made merit umbrella called the Buzhou umbrella. Out of nowhere, he suddenly became interested in the story between the Ant Lord and Hongjun. He wanted to ask why this abominable Ant Lord would be so loyal to her master. That kind of unwavering loyalty was one of the few human traits that the Ant Lord had. How did you meet your master, Hongjun? Hearing Ning Fan asking about her master, the Ant Lord actually blushed, which was rare for her. She said angrily, "Why should I tell you how I met my master? That's my secret." For the first time, she did not address herself as I. Even though she did not tell Ning Fan about her past with Hongjun, Ning Fan still directly learned about everything from the Ant Lord's mind through the advantage of their telepathic connection. A long, long time ago, the Ant Lord was not the Ant Lord yet. She was just an ordinary ant on a certain immortal mountain. On that day, this immortal mountain suddenly encountered an immeasurable tribulation. An immeasurable amount of blood rain fell from the sky, and it had the power to destroy the world. At first, the ant thought that it was going to die for sure. However, at this moment, a man in red robes who was holding a bone umbrella suddenly walked out from heaven and earth. That man's face could not be seen clearly. The Ant Lord only remembered that the man carried an unresolvable sorrow. He held the umbrella in one hand and walked in the immeasurable amount of blood rain, while the other hand was holding the head of a divine being of an ancient country. You crashed into my mountain ridge. I can forget about this grudge. However, you injured her fire body and lightning bones. I won't forgive you even if the divine king of an ancient country begged for mercy on your behalf. But where is she now? Who is she? After 900 reincarnations, I couldn't find her no matter where I looked. No matter how hard I tried, I was still at a loss. When I looked back, I realized that I was looking for a flower in a mirror. After another 100 reincarnations, it will be 1,000 reincarnations. If you still don't appear after I've searched for you for 1,000 reincarnations, I will destroy myself in this world and go to the next fourth ring of the heavenly Tao to look for you. It was impossible for ants to understand human language. However, the strange thing was that she could actually hear this person's words. The ant lord would never forget that soul-stirring scene for the rest of her life. The person holding the bone umbrella suddenly walked towards her. It was as if the entire world was approaching her. It was as if all the mountains and seas in the world were moving along with this person's movements, matching the rhythm of this person's footsteps. Perhaps that person did not even notice her. He was only holding the umbrella and quietly waiting for the rain to stop. She was hiding under the umbrella, hiding from the endless rain of blood that should have killed her. After the rain stopped, that person immediately left. However, the ant lord silently swore in her heart that if one day she could transform into a human and step onto the path of cultivation, she would definitely find the man who held the umbrella for her and use her life to repay him. Even if that person did not remember to save a small ant like her, she would definitely crawl into his life and break her bones for him. She swore that in this life, she would only respect one person. I didn't expect you to be such a sentimental ant. Just because someone else didn't have the heart to save you, you are willing to give up everything and follow him through life and death. I have underestimated you in the past. Unfortunately, you and I are enemies. Otherwise, I would really like your personality. You are a beauty, but why did you become a thief? Ning Fan sighed with emotion. Damn it. How dare you peek at the memory of the first time I met my master? It's fine that you peeked at my memory, but how dare you call my master a thief? I'm going to kill you. The ant lord was driven mad. She gnashed her teeth in anger. You want to kill me? Unfortunately, you are now bound to my sea of consciousness. You can't use any of your cultivation base and you can't kill me. All right, I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. I have to go and see if the fortune of heaven and earth in this world is enough for me to cultivate the merit and virtue umbrella. Ning Fan withdrew his attention and spread his spirit sense. He ignored the flattery from everyone on the stone room mountain and began to examine the fortune that was scattered in the world again. According to the knowledge he obtained from the ant lord's memory, in the true world, the fortune that is severed after one lifetime is considered as the low-grade fortune. The fortune that is inherited after one lifetime but is not enough for 3 lifetimes is considered as the low-grade fortune. The fortune that is inherited after 3 lifetimes but is not enough for 10 lifetimes is considered as the middle-grade fortune. The fortune that is inherited after 10 lifetimes but is not enough for 100 lifetimes is considered as the top-grade fortune. I remember that true Lord Fuzhe mentioned that he severed after 5 lifetimes before he died. Could it be that his fortune is the middle-grade fortune that is inherited after 5 lifetimes? If that's the case, this fortune is enough to condense the merit and virtue umbrella. Ning Fan tried a few times but helplessly realized that the level of his spirit sense was far from enough to identify the level of the fortune. Since his spirit sense could not sense anything, he might as well talk to the fortune directly. Tell me the level of your fortune. Ning Fan said indifferently. Communicating with nature. This is communicating with nature. Senior Zhao is actually communicating with heaven and earth itself. What kind of extraordinary ability is this? More flattering voices could be heard. It's the same thing again. Just now, he was chatting with the flowers and grass in the Chu clan. Now, he is actually chatting with the fortune? Bei Shi's cheeks flushed. Previously, when she was in the Chu clan, she had already seen Ning Fan conversing with the flowers and grass. She once thought that Ning Fan had gone mad. Only now did she know that Ning Fan was an ancient great cultivator who possessed supreme cultivation base. Since he was an ancient great cultivator, how could he possibly be a lunatic? She actually misunderstood Ning Fan. She was really too stupid. 5 lifetimes. 5 lifetimes. This was the answer of the fortune that only Ning Fan could hear. As expected, the fortune in this place is enough to cultivate the merit and virtue umbrella. If that's the case. Ning Fan hesitated for a moment. All of a sudden, he raised his hand and used his supreme magic power to produce a strong gust of wind, blowing everyone around the stone room mountain away from this place. This included Yuan Yao and her daughter, as well as Ocean Sand Grand Emperor and the others. He didn't want anyone to stay in the vicinity of Shirshir Mountain because the process of condensing the karmic umbrella was filled with a huge commotion. Those who did not have sufficient cultivation base to stay here and watch would be equivalent to sending themselves to death. In order to condense the merit and virtue umbrella using the ethereal umbrella technique, I need to prepare 3 materials: the luck umbrella that has at least 7 colors of immortal luck, a large amount of fortune of mid-grade grade and above, and an innate grade umbrella-type magic treasure that can act as the body of the umbrella. Even though my luck umbrella has yet to attain the 8th color, it is still barely enough for me to cultivate the merit and virtue umbrella. Besides, the fortune in this place is also sufficient. As for the material that can act as the body of the umbrella, I happen to have one with me. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out the mid-grade innate heaven-battling jade umbrella. This was the inherited supreme treasure that the water sect had been searching for many years. It was the Rain Master's titled weapon. Rumor has it that once one successfully cultivates the titled weapon of the Rain Master, one would be able to use this umbrella to activate some kind of powerful divine ability. However, no matter how powerful a titled divine ability is, could it be more powerful than the merit and virtue umbrella? The merit and virtue umbrella could be used for defense against the great tribulation of ascension to sainthood, the immeasurable tribulation. This was a supreme treasure that could help one attain the sainthood through virtue. Once he successfully cultivates it, basically no one at the second step of the heavenly Tao realm would be able to hurt him with their attacks. If a second-level quasi-saint realm expert could not break the defense of Ning Fan's merit umbrella, the same goes for ancient great cultivators. Unless it is an ancient great cultivator at the same level as the chaotic ancient land, no one could break the defense of his merit umbrella. With the heavenly cycle merit around him, his defense wasn't just for show. Only saint-level attacks could break through it. Heaven-battling jade umbrella. Are you willing to become the umbrella body of my merit umbrella and bear my lifetime's luck and virtue? Ning Fan actually started chatting with the heaven-battling jade umbrella. Of course, the reason why Ning Fan was chatting with the heaven-battling jade umbrella was because he was worried that the heaven-battling jade umbrella was unwilling to become the umbrella's body. If this magic treasure rejects this matter, the success rate of condensing the karma umbrella would drop significantly. Then, Ning Fan would have no choice but to look for other umbrella-type magic treasures to become the umbrella's body. Yes, I'm willing. The heaven-battling jade umbrella's tone was very cheerful. It seemed to have also realized that becoming Ning Fan's umbrella body of virtue would be a great opportunity. Thus, it did not have any reluctance towards this matter. Instead, it was looking forward to it. That was because this was not equivalent to destruction, but a sublimation of existence. It would become a treasure that surpassed the second step. If that's the case, I, Ning Fan, command the blessings of heaven and earth to enter my umbrella. Zhou Tian's fate, enter my umbrella. At the moment when Ning Fan started to refine the umbrella, 2 people within the 4 days seemed to have sensed something and their expressions changed drastically. One of them was the sect master of the water sect, True Monarch Northern Sea. He was visiting his friends in the famous mountains of the Northern Heaven, trying to find helpers to deal with Ning Fan and take back the heaven-battling jade umbrella. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. Crazy! Crazy! You actually want to destroy the heaven-battling jade umbrella before I seek revenge on you. You want to destroy the supreme treasure of my water sect. You're courting death. You're courting death. True Monarch Northern Sea was enraged. He could not tolerate Ning Fan's action of destroying the heaven-battling jade umbrella. He wanted to take action immediately and stop Ning Fan at all costs. In the southern heaven, the great Emperor Luck-wielding was in secluded cultivation, absorbing the fate of heaven and earth into his body. He could vaguely feel that he was already close to breaking through the final barrier between the source of Tao arts and the Tao orthodoxy. What he lacked was just the accumulation of time. As long as the total amount of fate in heaven and earth doesn't decrease drastically, I have the confidence to completely step into the realm of the Tao orthodoxy of the lineage of Qi within 100 years. The Tao orthodoxy can fight against saints. If I cultivate to such a realm, who among the 9 great purple mountains, 4 great seas and 4 great seas of demons would be my match? So what if ancient chaos comes back to life? The withered bones in the grave won't last for more than a few years. How can they be a match for my Tao orthodoxy? So what if there's a great devil on the Devil Conferral Peak? I can kill them like slaughtering chickens. So what if there are the ancestral kings of the Boundary River? They are my food. Nyo Manshan, the Undying Remnant Eye, the 3 immortals of the Demon Domain, the Blackbird of Destiny, Huodou, Tian Huang, and Yuanshan, Shizun's 3 corpses, Gu Tu Ling. All of them can be killed. The only thing I need to be wary of in this world are the 5 great variables left by immortal sovereign Zido. If I don't eliminate an Eye Crane, Axe Chi, Zhongge, River Earl and the Devil Insect, I won't be able to truly destroy the Purple Mountain Ocean. In the past, the reason why Great Venerable Love Palm could not end the last Purple Mountain in Samsara was because of this. When I really face those 5 changes, I will ask for help from Master Love Palm. I believe he will be very willing to enter the Purple Mountain Ocean again to avenge himself. The great Emperor Luck-wielding almost wanted to roar at the sky to release his suppressed emotions that had been dormant for many years. At this moment, the great Emperor Luck-wielding's expression suddenly changed drastically. To his horror, he discovered that the total amount of fate in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds was decreasing at an alarming rate, as if it was being forcibly taken away by something. If he did not stop this, once the fate in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds was seriously lost, he would not be able to cultivate the Tao orthodoxy no matter how much time he had, let alone 100 years, unless the total amount of fate in heaven and earth was restored. Who is it? Who ruined my great plan? I'm going to kill you. Kill you. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.